Chapter 1332. More than 80 years had passed. The two of them had only met once and had never truly spoken to each other. Yet, when they met again in the 139th era, nothing seemed to have changed. At the same time, it also seemed to be completely different from that day. Both of them were loners whose time had frozen in that era. Feng Ling was still the same Feng Ling, but he was no longer the lazy young man from the beginning. The Most High was not the real Most High. It was just an undying obsession that he had left behind in the Suya continent. He had also been imprisoned by the death fog of the abyss for countless years. Now that he had awakened, he could only sigh at how fate made fools of him. He no longer recognized anyone here. The Most High turned to look at Yun Nuoxing, who was looking at the sky in a daze. The presence of time and era did not leave any trace on him, and he looked the same as when he first met him. The Most High could not help but laugh. "I have to thank you again this time, Heavenly God of the Divine Realm. Suja has been reborn several times because of you. Well, I'm tired of beating you up, so I won't push it around with you. I'll just take your thanks first." Yun Nuoxing let out a long yawn. "After that, let's talk about something more practical. What do you plan to do with the Suja continent? It's now at the southernmost tip of the Divine Realm, where not many have reached, hanging over the horizon. Don't look at me like that. It floated here from the void. Ahem. So, do you plan to let it hang over there, or do you want me to push it back and continue to wander the void?" Yin Oshing looked at the Most High's pensive look and said seriously, "Now that the Divine Realm is facing a great calamity, I can't guarantee that it won't be harmed if it hangs there." The Divine Realm is facing a great calamity? After almost 90 eras, even the greatest major world of the Eight Elements realm has declined? The Most High perked up his ears, a little interested. The entire void has declined, but the realm of the gods is still the #1 major world in the 8 elemental realms. However, the gap between it and the other worlds has shrunk a lot. Oh, that's not the main point. The main point is that calamity. Well, after all, they've been ravaging SUA for countless years. Now, after a few dozen epochs, they're stirring up trouble in the realm of the gods again. Yin Nuoxing shrugged helplessly when she saw the Most High's eyes widening. "I'm not trying to scare you. Void Mist. Oh, that's the name given to it by the first person who discovered the abyssal death mist in this era. It's different from what we know in the Dark Age. All you need to know is that it has already destroyed 10,000 worlds, and there's also a brick with extremely dense void mist that's heading towards the Divine Realm. I've taken a look at the brick's barrier, and it's very difficult to break through it. Furthermore, there aren't many original life forms in this era. Since the structure of the void has declined, the underworld must be experiencing the same thing. I'm not sure how much it has declined. With the realm of the god's strength, it shouldn't be a problem to pull out 100 Empyrean gods of origin, right?" Yin Nuoxing looked at him and sighed faintly. "Including me, there's only 3. 2 are local, 1 is foreign, and the other is half-dead. With the current laws of the realm of the gods, there are less than 20 Empyrean gods who can fight. The Most High, that's a little bad. No, it's very bad. Huh, but that's your problem. This lingering will of mine won't last long. SUA will stay in the realm of the gods. Just let it roam around the realm of the gods. Because of me, it has encountered so many things, and it hasn't been able to settle down. I'm sorry. Then I'll take my leave first," the utmost being waved his hand as his figure gradually dimmed. Yin Nuoxing also waved his hand at him. Just as he was about to send him off, he suddenly recalled something and hurriedly pulled that fellow who was about to dissipate. "Hey, wait a moment. I still have something to ask you. Back then, when you left that scepter behind, you asked that fellow to tell us something, but that fellow forgot it himself. What were you going to say back then?" "Scepter?" The Most High was stunned for a moment, and his figure that was about to disappear stabilized again. He seriously thought about it for a moment, and a look of realization appeared on his face. That? Actually, I can't say. To be specific, it's something I saw when I fought my way into the underworld. Back then, in the underworld that dominated the war, I spied on some kind of dark and profound energy aura in their territory. It was even more twisted and terrifying than the death mist in the abyss. Perhaps it was even more intense than the sin of the world on your body. It even felt a little conflicting with the aura of the underworld. It was obviously not an energy that originally belonged to them. I don't know what that aura was, and the rest is just my guess. Personally, I think that those guys in the underworld might have tinkered with some kind of power and obtained the kind of energy from somewhere. That's why they had the guts to flatten the entire 8 elements realm. That's all I know. Yin Nuashing was silent. She just sighed and shook her head. She didn't say anything, and she didn't make any guesses. At the moment, she didn't want to think about these questions. It was too heavy and too tiring. I'm leaving. After this farewell, I'm afraid it will really be the last time. If you have time, please take care of Sua for me. The Most High walked forward with his hands behind his back and chuckled. That stalwart figure slowly dimmed, like a firefly that was slowly extinguished in the summer night. This world, I always feel that something is missing. It's not exciting enough, and it's not gorgeous enough. Fortunately, there's still you watching over it. There will always be hope for everything. His figure blurred and dimmed, turning into a glimmer of light and dissipating. At this moment, all the lives of Sua were stunned. Their bodies stiffened, and they felt a sense of emptiness in their souls, as if something very important was slowly collapsing. That sudden feeling even made them forget everything that they had been thinking about in the past few minutes. Some people even cried silently, feeling a little sad. Farewell. Yin Nuashing let out a long sigh and waved at the glimmer of light. He had already left the world during the Age of Darkness. Now that he had awakened, he had truly disappeared. There was no longer any trace of him in this world. He once again let out a long sigh and turned around. He saw that the Shang deity and the others were stunned. Xian and the others weren't Sua's people, so they didn't feel the feeling of losing something important. Instead, they were familiar with the scene of him saying goodbye to his old friend. Xian saw that he was a little emotional, so she walked up and grabbed his hand. She didn't say anything and just quietly looked at him. It wasn't good to talk at this time. The Shang deity of Battlefield was the first to react. He quickly coughed and patted the man next to him. Then, he walked up and nodded to Yin Nuashing. His tone was still respectful. So, everything is over. If you're talking about the endless calamities that have followed us across eras, that's right, it's over. From now on, Sua doesn't have to engage in any meaningless battles. The destructive waves on the surface will gradually recede. Yin Nuashing shrugged. Although what's left is just a broken shell, at least it's still alive, isn't it? The destructive waves didn't destroy the life on the surface. Those distortions will recover one day. Next, it's time for you to start a new life. There's no abyssal death mist, so you don't have to recklessly fight and kill. The seal of the barrier will be lifted after a full day of inspection, and you will once again see the stars that you haven't seen for countless years. There's a lot of trouble to face again. Yin Nuashing laughed silently. There's also a lot of trouble in the realm of the gods. However, I can assure you that even if the flames of war there reach the heavens, it won't affect you here. After all, it was that guy's last request. It was only then that the others reacted. The man who had just been slapped by the Shang deity scratched his head and sighed. It's finally over. After so many years of war, I really want to die together with this world. Speaking of which, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Huh, but I don't seem to have much lifespan left. What, old man, you want to retire? The Shang deity smiled at the middle-aged man. They were all the heirs of the Sua continent. Most of them didn't have a long lifespan. Although the middle-aged man looked like he was only 30 years old, he was already past his prime. However, because he still had a mission and a heavy burden on his shoulders, he didn't show it. Now that he felt that everything was finally over, he was already bent over. Ahem. If you want to reunite, then go ahead. However, there are still a lot of troubles in this world, and you'll have to deal with them yourselves. Yin Nuashing coughed softly to remind them. Although the abyssal death mist had completely disappeared this time, there were still a lot of things that happened because of it. Large and small wars have been fought for generations, and the grudges between them couldn't be completely wiped out in a short time. That won't do. The middle-aged man laughed heartily. Right now, the most important thing is to get rid of the things in this old man's head. In the future, there will be no need for the heirs to exist, but the things in our heads that have been preserved from generation to generation still have value. After we're done with this, the Shang deity asked, and then, I'll retire and return to my hometown. I'll find a place far away from the mortal world, plant some crops, graze some cows, dig a 3-foot lake, and raise some fish. The mountains on my island have been blasted bare by the previous battles. After that, I plan to plant some trees and raise some flowers. Everyone was speechless. It really was a plan to retire and return to one's hometown. There were even stages to it. Yin Nuashing couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. In a sense, you heirs are the ones who are forcefully hanging the lives of this world. In the end, you only plan to be idle. The middle-aged man nodded with a smile. The world, saving the world, great heroes, heirs, all of these are much more important than just talking about them. When I was young, I was just a kid in a small village who didn't know anything. After dealing with the mess left behind here, I'll return to that deserted village and quietly live out the rest of my life. I'll just leave the other important matters aside. Yin Nuashing looked at the middle-aged man whose soul had already aged. After a moment, she raised her head. It was indeed too heavy for a god with a lifespan of 100 years to bear those things. The continuous and eternal responsibility of this world had already exhausted them. They were not gods who grew step by step with the footprints of time, but extreme products that were forcefully catalyzed and born in this cruel world. They had to control this world and control and restrain themselves. In the end, they might have lived a muddle-headed life for more than 100 years, without a single day for themselves. Fortunately, although the old man had already thought of a retirement plan, the sense of responsibility of being an inheritor for hundreds of years didn't allow him to immediately carry out this plan. They would still be in this position for a while, until the world of SUA returned to normal and all the products of the war were turned into ashes along with this battle. Only then would they truly stop. It's a miracle created by man. Yin Nuashing sighed in her heart. No matter what the outcome was, SUA had already been reborn and was no longer affected by the abyssal death mist. Not only the old man, but the other heirs could also liberate themselves appropriately. For them, returning to their original state might be a good thing. Yin Nuashing shrugged, indicating that she was too lazy to care. Well, anyway, it's your freedom to do whatever you want. The realm of the gods has a lot of messes to deal with, and we don't have time to... Oh, right. Yin Nuashing searched her body for a long time and finally took out a teleportation token from her pendant. She shook her hand and threw it to the Shang deity. This is the teleportation gate to the realm of the gods. When everything is settled and you're interested in that world, you can find a place to fix the teleportation gate and go through it. Someone will be in charge of receiving you. As long as you don't cause trouble, there will be no problem. The Shang deity took the colorful token with a slightly strange expression. Heavenly deity, according to what you said just now, the SUA continent is hanging next to the realm of the gods. Can't we just leave the sky and fly to the realm of the gods? Yin Nuashing was silent for a moment, then said faintly, You can, but the place you came out from isn't very good. Everyone, ahem, in short, it's because of certain reasons. During this period of time, if you want to go to the realm of the gods and settle the matter of SUA, use the teleportation gate first. When I have time, I will move your world to another location, and you can slowly study whether or not to go to the sky. The Shang deity and the others were confused, but they all nodded to show that they understood. Then we will be leaving too. Yin Nuashing waved her hand and smiled at Xian and the group of girls beside her. Let's go back. Farewell, heavenly deity. The Shang deity and the others respectfully clasped their hands and bowed. The moment they lowered their heads and looked up, the space in front of them was only left with a wave of light particles that spiraled and disappeared. The few of them looked at each other, then looked at the sun in the sky, and couldn't help but smile. For the first time, they felt that the world was still so beautiful. The matter of SUA had caused quite a stir. In that world, the void was more or less affected, After all, two peak heavenly deities of origin were fighting in the concept layer of laws, and the commotion caused was at the level of world destruction. Because the two worlds were close to each other, there were more or less signs of disturbance in the realm of the gods. According to Palace Master Jean and the others, the last sun of the fourth round of the meteor shower was destroyed by an extremely powerful energy that came out of nowhere. At that time, the group of people controlling the combined barrier was shocked because that energy had almost destroyed their barrier. Are you kidding? I remember that I threw all the excess energy into the void. How could it have reached the realm of the gods? Not long after returning to the Nine Deities Temple, Yin Nuoxing saw Princess Jean and the others come over. When they told him about the matter, he immediately refuted. However, he didn't refute for long because he saw Palace Master Jean pass him a crystal ball. The crystal ball reflected the scene of a certain place in the prime origin region. There was a destructive fan-shaped crack that was more than 10 million kilometers wide, and its length, well, one couldn't see the end of it. Currently, there was no one in the realm of the gods who had such great destructive power, and no one would be so free as to run over to that scorched land and attack it. Yin Nuoxing sweated profusely. I think I can explain this. Listen to me. Mei Mao turned around and said, Xingxing was fighting like crazy at that time. You don't have to explain it. Yin Nuoxing's nose twitched. He squatted down and drew circles on the ground with an aggrieved look on his face. After that, he used the observer's eye to take a look at the scene and found that there were still remnants of his energy. There was nothing else to explain. In the blink of an eye, 4 or 5 days had passed since they returned to the realm of the gods. After watching the fireworks and solving the problem left behind by Suya, Yin Nuoxing had been lazing around in the temple. He sat there without moving. If no one came to torment him, he might be able to sit there until the world fragment came crashing down. As for the time when he was being tormented, it was mostly the group of girls who came to torment him. Although he was grumbling, he was in a much better mood. During this period of time, he also began to torment everyone's cultivation. The most chaotic situation was about to arrive. There would be a day when his protection would fail. He was worried that these girls couldn't handle their own affairs well when he was not around. After thinking for a while, Yin Nuoxing took out the divine weapon world. He found a room and stayed there for 2 hours. After that, he threw it to Xian and said in front of everyone, that divine weapon is no longer useful to me. I have improved it a little and changed it a little. Now, it is also a divine weapon at the peak of the origin level. If you are in the most dangerous situation, you can hide in it. Even the primeval god of the beginning can't find you. The hall was quiet. There were dozens of people, but no one opened their mouth to speak. They just let cold sweat flow down their faces. What if he chases after us and attacks us? Nightmare said in a daze. He felt that he might suffocate to death if he didn't say something. It's fine. The speed of the void travel is calculated according to my speed. It will only take me a minute to run from the left edge of the chaotic void to the right edge. If it really doesn't work, I can cross the boundary in a second. He's asking for death. Yin Nuoxing waved his hand to show that he didn't care at all. Everyone looked at the galaxy in Xian's hand strangely. That's right, it looked like a galaxy. There should be a transparent energy membrane around it. They could see that the galaxy inside was slowly rotating. No aura spread out. Who would have thought that this seemingly decorative thing was actually a powerful divine weapon? Xian didn't care about the thing in his hand. He just stared at Yin Nuoxing with his deep purple eyes. There was a hint of sadness in his eyes, but it disappeared before he saw it. Wasn't the countdown for the arrival of the world fragment a countdown for him as well? Some people also thought of this problem. The Golden Queen slammed her hand on the table and suddenly stood up. Little star, can you move the god's world now? The silent crowd immediately came back to their senses. They had heard that 10 or so powerful gods were needed to move the god's world. Now that he had recovered to the peak of reciprocity, did that mean that he could move the god's world as he pleased? Oh, if you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have said it. Yin Nuoxing rubbed a strand of his bangs as he leaned against the sofa lazily. We can't move them away. The world barrier and the void have all been sealed. I can bring them away, but the god realm can't. How? You can't take the god's world away with your strength at reciprocity? Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. There's nothing strange about it. Yin Nuashing sighed and struggled to sit up from the sofa. After some effort, he found that lying down was more comfortable, so he simply stopped moving. After all, there are primeval gods in the underworld. I don't believe that the final battle at the end of the Dark Age could kill all of them. If that was really the case, history would have recorded the events of the Dark Age. It wouldn't be like today. If I didn't say anything, almost no one would know what happened during the Dark Age. The Order faction lost miserably in the end. They gathered the energy of more than 10,000 worlds in the timeline. The battle covered the entire Yuan realm. They used up everything, but they still lost miserably in the end. Yin Nuashing finally sat up this time. According to my speculation, the person who launched that attack was at least a mid-level primeval god, or a high-level primeval god, or even higher. Even if I know this, I still have to fight for the god's world in that timeline. After all, Yin Nuashing was silent for a moment. After a while, he smiled sweetly. After all, I am the observer who is loved by all. That was Feng Ling's reason. It was his reason, but it was not the reason of this era. He knew very well that these differences would not cause psychological conflicts. And I also want to try. What if I can really reverse that ending? What if I can really win? Can I end that dream with no regrets? Can I end everything in the Dark Age? What am I thinking? Yin Nuashing covered his face and forced a smile. The hall was silent for a few minutes. It was another topic that could not be continued. After a while, Yin Nuashing planned to go out and exercise. As soon as he stood up, a feeling surged in his heart. It was the same feeling he had when he came back. He suddenly sighed and looked at Xian and the others. Girls, it's about time for me to go out. Everyone was stunned. After a while, they realized what he was talking about. Their expressions became even more gloomy. Well, I'm not here. I'll leave the god's world to you. Chapter 1333. Stars twinkled in the night sky. The two moons had not appeared in the sky for a long time. The lavender moonlight shone on the realm of the gods. It was cool and a little charming. However, the scenery in the distance was only a piece of scorched earth. Black lava flowed endlessly on the ground, and no one knew where it would stop flowing. There were tens of millions of scents left on the scorched earth. The air was so hot that not even a trace of water elemental energy was left. Black smoke was still floating in the sky. It was a scene that looked like the end of the world. There was only one moon in the realm of the gods in the Dark Age. It was the same in the Primeval Age. The purple moon in the sky is a scene that only exists in this era. I like it very much. Yin Nuashing sat on the edge of the fire god's temple. He looked up at the two moons that occupied the entire sky, one on the left and one on the right. There was a blank smile on his face. It was pure and without any other emotions. It was as if he had let go of all his worries and worries. There were many people gathered on the platform. It was now time for the reign of stars to end. Most people had chosen to recover and cultivate. A small number of people were gathered in the fire god's temple. Some of them ran up to Yin Nuashing and looked at him. Ever since he said that he might be leaving yesterday, the atmosphere in the Nine Gods Temple became a little gloomy. Those who lived in the town could clearly feel the faint sadness in the air. It was unknown how many people were sad at the same time to create such a strong, gloomy atmosphere. Xian, Feng and Ming sat next to him and looked at him in a daze. They looked at him quietly and did not say anything. Such a quiet time was a little less for the countdown timer. They just wanted the time in this world to stop. Just like this, they wanted this moment to become eternal. This is such a beautiful scene. Yuan Shi and Nightmare sat under the god's tree. They poked the branches and shoots of the tree from time to time. Looking at the four people sitting on the edge of the temple, Yuan Shi could not help but sigh. He looked up at Little Purple Soul who was riding on his shoulder and asked, "Little Purple Soul, did your brother say anything special?" Little Purple Soul, who was humming softly, tilted her head and asked, "Something special?" "Yeah, I feel like none of us here know Little Star as well as you do, so I wanted to ask if you know anything special. The little girl bit her index finger and shook her head as she thought for a long time. Then, she waved her hands and said, I don't know. She smiled bitterly. This mysterious little girl also had a time when she lost her usefulness. Shi Chun and Shi Yun, who were sitting beside Yuan Shi, were also looking at the four people in a daze. The mischievous Shi Yun wanted to go over, but she was stopped by her sister. Give Big Brother and the others some time alone. Don't go and cause trouble. If Shi Yun was 100% obedient, she wouldn't be Shi Yun. If she wasn't afraid of her sister's hand chop and the big bump on her head, she would have really leaned over right now. Nightmare was unusually calm. He looked at the two little girls and suddenly grinned. Shi Chun, Shi Yun, do you two have some special feelings for the boss? The two little girls looked at him in unison, their little faces full of doubt. Special feelings? Before Nightmare could explain, little Purple Soul kicked her feet a few times. Since Sister Shi Xian has that kind of feeling for Big Brother, Sister Shi Chun and Sister Shi Yin should have it too. The four of them looked at the little girl in a daze. Nightmare couldn't help but ask, you little girl, do you know about feelings? Little Purple Soul lowered her head and stuck her tongue out at him. You don't understand. Big Brother and Big Brother Yuan, she both have partners. You're still single. The world is drunk, and I'm the only one who's awake. I'm the only one who's free to roam the world, leaving no clouds or wind behind me. Mocking the single dog was useless to Nightmare. He waved his hand and said, Women will only affect the speed of my cultivation. He was quite forthright. His voice was quite loud. Everyone on the platform heard him. They all looked at him strangely. Nightmare had goosebumps all over his body. He smiled and sat down. Let's talk about this in tens of millions of years. Tens of millions of years later. There's no rush. There's no rush. All right, at this point, the gloomy atmosphere suddenly disappeared. The four of them also calmed down. Yin Nuoxing tilted her head. I said the same thing tens of years ago. After that, for some reason, there was something wrong with the memory of the chain of heart that I put on myself in the ancient age. There was another part after that memory, but it didn't work. It failed. Failed. Hall Master Shui walked closer curiously. But isn't there a layer of chain of heart on you? That's right. Yin Nuoxing nodded. That was probably something from the Dark Age. It's just that we haven't reached that time yet. I don't know what the specific situation is, but we will see it sooner or later. There are records in some ancient books. It is said that in those ancient times, there were indeed some heartless people with great perseverance. They used the chain of heart to seal their emotions. Those people later became eccentric lunatics. Hall Master Jean said, Oh, you mean those people? Those seals are definitely not the chain of heart. Yin Nuoxing hugged his knees and said, The chains of the heart are used to suppress and control one emotion. The maximum effect is to completely seal off one emotion. However, the relative suppression of the other emotions will be much smaller. Moreover, once the seal is completed, it will basically not be released. The ones recorded in the ancient books are either incomplete chains of the heart or fake. Those who are completely emotionless seem to have sealed off all 7 emotions. They are no different from the living dead in terms of spirit. Everyone listened and let out a long sigh. Chu Yingzhan noticed a detail. The seal will not be unsealed. Then how did you unseal it? This. Yin Nuoxing scratched her head. Her face was full of distress. How did I unseal it? Feeling more than 20 eyes with different emotions looking at her, Yin Nuoxing could only shrug. I don't know. It was unsealed for no reason. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't have the chance to sneak in. After saying that, she flicked Xian and Feng Er's forehead in annoyance. She subconsciously reached out to touch Ming. But before she could do that, she realized it and stopped in time. She coughed softly and pretended that nothing had happened. If you don't want to, you can erase it and seal it again. Arrogant deity. Chu Yingzhan crossed her arms in front of her chest. Her eyes were full of disdain. Yin Nuoxing held the left side of her face and stared blankly for a few seconds. Although it makes sense, Xian and Feng looked at each other. They stuck out their tongues and didn't say anything. Then, Yin Nuoxing's voice rang in their ears. But it seems a little, why are you all looking at me like that? Dozens of pairs of burning eyes stared at Yin Nuoxing. She was so shocked that she almost jumped off the top of the temple. Seeing that she was a little flustered, they waved their hands and said, "Don't mind us. Hurry up and tell us. You're all staring at me like that. How can I not mind? Okay, I'm a little. It's just that." She put her hands together and twirled her 2 index fingers together for a long time. Her beautiful face blushed a little. After I realized it, I'm a little reluctant. Okay, I've said it. You can laugh now. After saying that, Yin Nuoxing hurriedly pulled her hair and buried her face in it. After waiting for a long time, she didn't hear any laughter. She hesitated for a while and quietly opened her hair to look outside. Everyone looked at her with gratified and warm expressions. Only then did she realize that the situation in front of her was not developing in the direction she had imagined. She was a little embarrassed. What are you all looking at? We're looking at some idiot who finally understood. The Golden Princess scratched her hand on her head. If you like it, then say it boldly. Don't be shy. I can't stand it anymore. What's boldness? Yin Nuoxing thought for a while. Isn't it bold enough to crush hundreds of world orbs with one slap? Do you want to upgrade the standard a little? Let's see if we can wipe out an entire void region next time. The atmosphere was cold to the freezing point. Hall Master Shui and the other girls couldn't help sweating. This boldness was not the other way around. This brat actually had such a straight face. Speaking of which, violence and boldness shouldn't go together, right? Brother, you're pretending again. Ming extended her wings and patted Yin Nuoxing's head. Brother likes to keep a straight face when he's trying to change the topic. Yin Nuoxing's expression froze. Everyone quickly turned around. As expected, they saw Yin Nuoxing's stiff smile and sweating. Only now did they realize that the brat was trying to change the topic. After all, he was a brat who had lived for dozens of eras. Even if he was a blockhead, it was impossible for him not to understand what that sentence meant. He was just trying to change the topic. Ahem. Yin Nuoxing rolled his eyes at the little angel who suddenly became smart. Ming, don't expose me. I'll panic. Yin Nuoxing looked at the little angel who looked bright and holy under the moonlight. He turned his eyes thoughtfully. He couldn't find a pair of rings. He didn't know whether the pair of rings on his and the little angel's hands didn't appear in the original history, or he lost it later. After all, he couldn't take it off. Perhaps it was damaged in the battle. Chu Yingxian looked at the 2 moons in the sky that were about to descend. She couldn't help but yawn. The moon is about to pass the zenith. Is your feeling reliable? Well, I can't say for sure. When I came back, I squeaked one day in advance. The next day, it was time for me to go back. I followed the path and came back. Yin Nuoxing shook his head. He couldn't tell if it was reliable or not. Feng tilted her head and looked at him. Suddenly, she had an idea. Xing, do you have a way to take us there? Huh? What's wrong? You want to go to the Dark Age too? Yin Nuoxing was stunned at first. Then he shook his head. I can't. I still haven't figured out the nature of this dream. It's like a dream, but not a dream. There's something that acts as a bridge to pull me back to that era. I can't find this bridge. Also, the Dark Age is too chaotic. I don't know if taking you there will have any special effect on you at this time, so I haven't thought about it yet. That's true, Foma muttered. She pressed her hand on the back of his hand and squeezed it gently. She pretended to giggle. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. Yin Nuoxing looked at her. He could more or less guess what this girl was thinking, but he didn't expose her. He wasn't a male chauvinist. It was just that the things in the Dark Age weren't something that could be dealt with by humans. Sometimes it was better for them not to come in contact with those things. Now that they had come in contact with a lot of things, because of him, they needed some time to settle down. It was enough for him to know the ancient history of the past. Yin Nuoxing stood up and stretched. Suddenly, his expression froze. He put his hand on his chest and said, "There's a tremor. The feeling is getting stronger and stronger." There's not much time left. Hearing his strange words, Chu Yingxian's mouth twitched. She threw a shocking sentence at his face. Are you having a fetal movement? Everyone and Yin Nuoxing were speechless. This girl will get into trouble because of her mouth one day. Ahem. Yin Nuashing took a deep breath and pretended that he didn't hear that sentence. He opened his arms to little purple soul and said with a smile, "Little purple soul, come here." The little girl laughed happily. She jumped down from Yuan Shi's shoulder and ran a few steps on the ground. Then, she jumped into Yin Nuashing's arms and acted coquettishly. Yin Nuashing's face was almost smoking. Yin Nuashing pressed down on the head of the little fellow in his arms to make her stop. Yin Nuashing's hands clasped under her arms and lifted the little girl forward. There was a doting and different expression in his eyes. "Little girl, it's almost time for you to grow up." At first, little purple soul didn't feel that there was anything wrong with his words. She just pouted and snorted. But when she saw the unusual look in Yin Nuashing's eyes, the little girl panicked a little. However, she pretended to be calm. "But after so many years, you still haven't grown up. You? Forget it. It doesn't matter." Yin Nuashing dismissed his original idea. He smiled silently and hugged little purple soul. He rubbed her face and said, "Well, as long as you're happy, nothing else matters." Little purple soul smiled and nodded. She kissed him on the cheek and rubbed against him for a while before jumping out of his arms and looking for Shi Lu and Shi Yin. Yin Nuashing looked at the scene with a smile. Xian couldn't help but ask in his soul, "Little star, do you know little purple soul's origin?" Everyone also glanced at Yin Nuashing curiously and vaguely. They did not ask openly and were all paying attention in their souls. They were all quite concerned about this little girl who had not grown up yet. After investigating for many years, there were no results. It was not appropriate for them to ask directly when it came to such matters. Now that they knew that Yin Nuashing finally knew, they could not help but pay attention. "Well, there's a little clue. Since the little girl doesn't want to grow up, just let her be. There's nothing special that we need her help with." Yin Nuashing nodded. You should finish. Don't just leave things hanging. You're driving me crazy." The Golden Princess glanced at him and whispered in his soul. "Actually, the little girl's soul changed a little after we brought her back from the EC. Didn't you notice that the little girl has become a lot smarter since then?" Everyone thought about it carefully and realized that it was true. Moreover, this intelligence wasn't just a little bit. The little girl knew a lot of things, and she even knew things that they didn't. When Yin Nuashing sneaked out a few days ago, while they were still in a daze, she had already started sharing her consciousness with the fortress's consciousness. It was as if she had known about it for a long time. It's not that simple to be smart. Among this group of people, excluding you idiot, who dares to say that they know more than little purple soul? Shu Yingzhan was very concerned. When she saw that everyone was silent, she said, "It's like the reincarnation of a big shot." Since the idiot mentioned that time in the EC, it might have awakened after that time. If it's the awakening of a big shot, I don't feel that kind of aura or unfathomable power. Other than the inexplicable immunity to energy, I can't tell anything else. The Empress said softly, "I've used the lapis lazuli to look at it many times, but I still can't tell anything. The lapis lazuli can identify all things in the world. Well, the method used by the lapis lazuli won't work. After all, the lapis lazuli stopped at the level of an enlightened master. Moreover, the answer can only be found out by oneself." Yin Nuashing spread out his hands and said, "The little girl awakened after returning from the EC. This should be correct. However, after that, Quarter Moon, who was at the peak of the enlightened master, I still didn't find anything wrong until now." The soul was silent for 3 seconds. Everyone widened their eyes in horror. Yin Nuashing, who was at the peak of the enlightened master, also didn't find anything wrong. However, who was at the peak of the origin, found something different after returning this time. It was hard to believe that there was no cause and effect connection. So, who on earth is little purple soul? Even Ming couldn't help but ask. Yin Nuashing tilted his head and said, "It's hard to say. Everyone, I've overturned all my previous guesses. I'm still following that clue. Perhaps it's because I know too much and it's troublesome to rule it out. I still need some time to look at it. However, I can tell you that first, the little girl is not a reincarnated body. Second, He hesitated for a moment and said, "This is very important. You must not say it in front of little purple soul." As soon as he said this, he saw that the little girl, Shin, and she were playing happily. He paused for a moment and said, "Oh, I don't think it's a big deal. We have more than one or two non-human beings here. It doesn't matter. Just pretend that I didn't say anything." Second, little purple soul is not a human. Everyone was stunned, as if they had been struck by lightning. However, Lord Jean and the others quickly calmed down and said, I did speculate this before. After all, I heard from Sai Xiao that little purple soul was not even afraid of your sins. She must not be a normal person, but I didn't expect you to say that she's not a human." "Wait, boss." Nightmare jumped out in time and said, "Do you mean that little purple soul doesn't treat little purple soul as a human being?" Everyone smiled bitterly and said, "Is there a difference?" "There's a difference. Of course there is a difference." Yuan Shi added, "According to Little Star standards, there are many explanations. She was originally a human, but after becoming a god, she no longer treats herself as a human. The second explanation is that she has nothing to do with humans. Just like Xian and Xin, they're dimensional beings. You can't possibly treat them as humans. Of course, the treatment is a matter of treatment. We are now investigating the root of the problem. Thinking about how they treated the two-dimensional beings normally, they did not feel awkward. Over time, they also treated them as two little girls. It seemed that there was no problem. Demon beast, demon race, or some other special being. Little Qing's green Mei-Mao twinkled as she glanced at the little girl from time to time. None of them. Yin Nuoxing shook her head. Everyone was shocked. If none of them were, then the problem was huge. The little girl should be something special. I really can't say for sure. I've already eliminated 90% of my guesses, but the remaining 10% still leaves about 100,000 possibilities. You see, my knowledge covers the entire void and the entire Deyuan realm, and no one can guarantee that the little purple soul is a native of the realm of the gods, right? Every era, there are so many living beings that the Eastern Sea can't even fit all of them. It's also possible that she's an alien. Looking at his troubled expression, everyone was troubled as well. Sure enough, knowing too much was not always a good thing. He fiddled with his long hair for a while and said, I will try my best to look for it in the dark age. Anyway, I should have the answer the next time I come back. But if little purple soul doesn't want to, I won't say it out loud. Everyone smiled bitterly and said, That's true, but you're driving us to our deaths. Speaking halfway was like trying to kill someone with obsessive-compulsive disorder. Well, Yin Nuoxing laughed embarrassedly. He was about to say something, but his body suddenly went limp. He quickly turned his whole body and fell towards Ziyin. Ziyin, who was slightly surprised, quickly caught him. Chu Yingzhan jumped a few steps back and said, Idiot, don't mess around. There are so many people here watching. If you want to show off your affection, wait until we leave. Woof. Palace Master Jean and the others covered their faces. Could the fragrance in the air be the smell of the legendary dog food? Yin Nuoxing could not even turn her head. Her eyelids were about to close. She laughed bitterly, but her voice did not sound sleepy at all. What are you thinking? Time's up. Everyone suddenly came to their senses. Suddenly, they felt their consciousness slipping away from their bodies. They suddenly remembered that today was the day they were going to leave. Ziyin bent down and carried Yin Nuoxing to the middle of the platform. Little Purple Soul and the other two girls also felt the movement and quickly made way for Ziyin to place Yin Nuoxing under the god's tree. The 3-meter-tall tree suddenly emitted a golden light and cast a soft golden light on the platform. Ziyin carefully placed Yin Nuoxing on the light. Seeing that Yin Nuoxing seemed to sink into the sofa and lay down softly, Ziyin heaved a sigh of relief. Yin Nuoxing's eyelids were already trembling. She was about to close her eyes completely due to exhaustion. She was sweating profusely. It was so awkward to be stared at like this, it's like they're worshipping a corpse. Chu Yingzhan could not help but say this sentence. The group was shocked and glared at her. It seems that I'm not surprised by this kind of thing anymore. It seems like it's happened many times. Well, I'm the one being worshipped. I'm used to it. Yin Nuashing was still talking about this topic calmly. Everyone was stunned. I have a feeling that this trip will take a long time. Maybe it will last until the end of the Dark Age. Be careful of the underworld and the void. They could turn the entire Yuan realm upside down in the past. This time, they must be plotting something. The celestial realm has no defensive measures and no defensive power. Repair the creation's barrier as soon as possible. That's the last defense of the celestial realm. They didn't attack the celestial realm directly. They must be afraid of something. It shouldn't be me. It should be something else. They're probing or something else. The Supreme of SUA said that there are still secrets about the battle back then. I have to go and understand some of the lost history. Maybe I can, if you encounter a problem that you can't solve no matter what, use the key to touch the origin mark on me. Hide in the origin world. That's the place where the origin great deity fell. There's a consciousness there. That world should be unbreakable in this era. Take care of yourselves. When I'm not around, be careful. Looking at Yin Nuashing, who had fallen into a deep sleep and completely lost consciousness, Xian could not help but sigh. The little fool is gone. Palace Master Shui sighed softly. Looking at the space of the Fire God Shrine, he turned to Palace Master Jean and the others and said, "We have to work hard too. Well, the time of peace is over. We have to take that step. We've been ready for a long time." Palace Master Jean nodded. Okay. You guys go and break through. We'll guard the shrine." Seeing Xian looking at Yin Nuashing reluctantly, Princess Jean sighed. She could not help but say, "Okay, don't be too sad. Little Star will come back eventually. No one will have any objections if you want to guard here. However, the conditions here are so good. It's a bit of a waste to just guard here. Do you understand what I mean?" Xian nodded. "Yes, I just want to look at her for a while longer." "That's easy." Just as everyone sighed, they heard a giggling voice coming from the platform. They turned around and saw a little purple soul climbing up the barrier's clothes. After a while, she sat on the barrier's shoulder. She lowered her head and asked, "Can you find her? Can you find her? The time and space are too far apart. However, we can occasionally share some fragments." The barrier's consciousness nodded. Everyone, all in all, the sadness of parting had completely vanished in a thin air. "Come, let's watch the boss brave the Dark Age." Nightmare sat down as if she was waiting for a good show to start. Everyone was furious. "All of you go and cultivate." Princess Jean roared. Everyone shrunk their necks. "Don't look. No, don't keep looking. It's okay to look at her when you have time, but cultivate for the rest of your time. Do you hear me?" The group of girls who were staring at her shrunk their necks and whispered, "Oh, okay." Everyone did not know whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 1334. The flow of his consciousness felt like his body was sinking into the sea, and the seawater was dragging him down bit by bit. The sinking feeling quickly spread from the middle of his body to the rest of his body, but he could not tell whether he was floating or diving. He followed the gentle undercurrent and was drawn in the depths bit by bit until a faint light burst out from the whole world and gradually became brighter. The feeling of sinking into the water gradually faded, and his vision was drowned by the light. This was not the first time Yin Nuashing had entered this state, the wandering of his consciousness. This time, he clearly felt a strange throbbing coming from the depths of his soul. It was probably the sea of consciousness that had built a bridge between the two dimensions, allowing his consciousness to enter and switch in a certain state. However, he had not mastered the method of actively entering and diving into the sea of consciousness. When he learned that he could move back and forth between the two dimensions, he had tried a few times, but it was difficult to succeed. Firstly, he could not sense where the sea of consciousness was in his soul. Secondly, there was no other way. He could not even touch it, let alone try it. Perhaps this level of switching was still a passive skill. Putting those aside, the current state made him feel inexplicably comfortable and relaxed. Diving into the sea of consciousness was the closest feeling he could think of, but it was difficult to imagine what it was like to describe in detail. Putting this question aside, he decided to float up first, immersing in the sea of consciousness for a long time. Even if it was quiet and there was no movement, he was afraid that he would drown in this strange place. Splash! Like a big fish leaping out of the water, the sound of water splashing rang in his ears. He could not see the sun and the sky because the dazzling light had occupied his eyes and then slowly dimmed. When his consciousness leaped out of the deep and boundless sea, he felt that he had regained control of something. Yin Nuashing opened his eyes and saw the ceiling of a room in front of him. It was slightly familiar. He seemed to have slept in this place before. The sunlight from the window was blocked by a thin bamboo mat, so it was not glaring. Subconsciously, he used the Book of Epics to check the time. 51 epics. He came to this time again, but it was a year after he left this place. Had he slept here for a whole year? Or had Feng Ling recovered in the past year? He recalled that when he fell, he should have walked into a room with a metal box. Now that he opened his eyes, he realized that something was wrong. Another year had passed. He would not believe that nothing had happened during this time. Creak! There was a hurried sound coming from the door. It seemed that someone outside had sensed his signs of waking up and had rushed in. Their footsteps were a little messy. When the door opened with a sound, Yin Nuashing turned her head stiffly and saw a beautiful figure walking in under the sunlight. The slanted light shone on her youthful and beautiful face, making her sweat a little. You? She was stunned for a while. After a moment, she didn't even have time to close the door. She hurriedly walked to Yin Nuashing's side and placed her lily-white hands directly on his neck and wrist, as if she was taking his pulse and checking his condition. Yin Nuashing was suspicious, but didn't say anything. It should be said that he didn't dare to say anything. If something really happened in the past year, and he said something wrong, he would be exposed. It was better to observe for now. After a while, Siyu relaxed and sat back on a bamboo chair. Mei Mao was still in shock. You, little star, you really came back to life? It was a familiar address. It seemed that it was indeed a continuation of that dream, but it skipped a year. However, the content made him confused. What do you mean I came back to life? You make it sound like I died. Yin Nuashing thought that Siyu was joking. A strange smile appeared on his face, but when he saw the little girl nodding seriously, he was stunned. You died. You slept for a year, and your aura and divine soul were completely gone. Master Hui was also awakened once. He said, "What's left here is only an empty shell. If the heavenly god of origin is really dead, he wouldn't leave his body behind if he didn't make deliberate preparations. Feng must have left this shell behind for some purpose. We didn't." Siyu's expression was strange. She turned her head and said, "We didn't bury you. We just left you in this room." There were obvious signs that his clothes had been changed, and he finally remembered that this room was this little girl's room. I think I know what happened. So, you've been taking care of my shell for the past year?" Siyu blushed and turned her head away. "It's big sister Ming, who has been taking care of it. I come here occasionally to help." The last sentence was so soft that even she couldn't hear it, but it drilled into Yin Nuashing's ears without missing a word. He couldn't help but laugh dryly. "Well, thank you in advance." Yin Nuashing reached out his hand and pressed on Siyu's head. Then, he turned over and was about to get down. Siyu quickly reached out and held him up. He smiled and waved his hand to show that he could move. "I didn't expect to be taken as dead. I didn't make it clear. After all, I didn't expect this to happen. You've been sleeping for a year." Siyu heard something, but she didn't dare to ask. She stopped talking halfway. "My divine soul went out. It went to a faraway place to see something," Yin Nuashing said vaguely. He waved his hand. "Let's not talk about this. Where did Hui and that idiot go? Master Hui woke up a month after you fell asleep in Little Star. He stayed here for a month and then went somewhere else. Big sister Ming is helping to repair the creation's barrier. Brother I Ching and the others, they're still repairing the creation's barrier?" Yin Nuashing was stunned. "I've already taken care of it before I went into hibernation. It should be done in half a year. It's been half a year. Why is it still?" Before he could finish his sentence, a dull rumbling sound came from the sky. No, the sound originated from this world. The observer's intuition told him that this sound originated from the entire realm of the gods. The entire realm of the gods was emitting this sound, and it was not caused by an earthquake or any other movement. It sounded like a stomachache. Repair. Yin Nuoxing was stunned as he finished his sentence. Then, he shook his head fiercely. What's wrong with that? What happened in the past year that I wasn't around? I don't know the details, but they told me something, Siyu said softly. The reason they told her was probably because they wanted her to tell him something when he came back. Something happened after Master Hui disappeared for a month or two. Big Sister Ming and Brother I Ching said that the realm of the gods' self-repair ability had decreased to different degrees. This is also the reason why the creation's barrier is being repaired so slowly. Brother I Ching said that the progress was almost stagnant and had to be repaired manually. Something like that. That's not a small matter. Yin Nuoxing's face was a little gloomy. He thought for a moment, grabbed Siyu's hand, and dragged her to the edge of the sky. Let's talk as we go. Something that can affect the creation's barrier's repair speed must be related to the realm of the gods itself. After all, we only need to repair the core of the damaged areas. The rest will self-repair. But now, we need to repair it until it's fully recovered. Has the realm of the gods' self-repair ability disappeared? Siyu blinked and guessed. Maybe that's what happened. But I don't know what caused it. TSK. I didn't expect to run into trouble as soon as I came back. Plus, it's the trouble from last time. It's not good to just sit back and do nothing. This foundation, it's related to the foundation of the realm of the gods itself. It's better not to use it casually. Yin Nuoxing sighed. It didn't take long for the two to reach the nearest creation's barrier. As soon as they saw someone standing at the edge of the barrier and were about to go there, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Yin Nuoxing pulled Siyu to a stop and stared at the person who appeared in front of them. It was a girl of 14 or 15 years old, wearing a light yellow dress. Well, it was Yuan Kong. The little girl came out of the space with a vigilant and unapproachable expression. When she saw Yin Nuoxing and Siyu, she was stunned. Then, her face turned pale in 2 seconds. She turned and ran, screaming, "Wah!" Big Sister. That pervert came back to life. I told you that I wanted to buy a coffin, but you didn't believe me. This time, he finally came back to life. Yin Nuoxing and Siyu were speechless. Bang! Before Yin Nuoxing could think of suppressing the little girl with smoke coming out of her mouth, a light flashed in the distance and knocked Yuan Kong away. It also left a golden ring to tie up the little girl. Then, it rushed straight toward Yin Nuoxing. Siyu was scared silly when she saw this scene. At this time, when she saw the light coming toward them, or more specifically, toward Yin Nuoxing, she quickly let go of Yin Nuoxing's hand and slipped to the side. As soon as she stepped away, she saw the light carrying Yin Nuoxing away. That speed made her sweat. Speaking of which, she just heard a strange collision and screams. It shouldn't be a big deal, right? Seeing the light rushing over without reservation, Yin Nuoxing was already prepared. However, when the oppressive feeling came toward her, she couldn't help but feel like a meteorite was flying toward her at the speed of light. She only felt that her hair was being pulled back by the wind, and then she felt pain in her chest. The surrounding scenery was moving backward rapidly in the blue, and red light. She just felt a little pain in her waist, and it seemed like her chest also hurt. "Where have you been all this time?" He grinned and opened his eyes when he heard the sound. He saw a pair of beautiful golden eyes that almost filled his entire vision. A pair of pure white wings filled up all the gaps in his vision. Feeling a pair of slender arms around his waist, Yin Nuoxing also hugged the little angel in his arms and smiled awkwardly for a while. "I went back for a while. 139th era? Yes. I didn't tell you that day because you were so happy. It was a sudden feeling. I didn't know why I suddenly went back." "You went back for so long? I thought something really happened to you. You were lying there without making a sound." "Well, actually, I only went back for 5 days. I didn't expect it to be a year." Okay. It's my fault for not telling you. At that time, I didn't know what would happen, so I didn't prepare anything." The little angel was silent for a while. She pressed her face against his face and pursed her red lips tightly. Suddenly, she said, "Did you tell her?" "Who? What did I say?" Yin Nuashing was stunned. "Okay, it looks like you didn't say anything. What blockhead?" The little angel sighed faintly. It took a long time for Yin Nuashing to realize what she was talking about. After a long "oh," she couldn't help but smile bitterly. "There's nothing I can do. The realm of the gods has things to do there. I don't have the time to talk about it. You can't expect me to talk about it in front of everyone like hell I'd believe you. I'm 80% sure you don't remember it." Okay, you're right. I didn't care about it because of other things." Yin Nuashing smiled bitterly. Seeing that she seemed to want to say something, she quickly changed the topic. Stop. If we continue this topic, it feels like it's going to become strange." Yin Nuashing let out a sigh of relief after she briefly explained what happened back in the realm of the gods and successfully diverted the little angel's attention. "The Suja continent, the planet that's very close to my world. I didn't expect them to still be there in the 139th era. And that heavenly god of destruction. You went to that place again, and there were changes. It seems like she did go there once. If memory serves me right, she will return there in 10 years." She thought for a while. "Say, where do you think the heavenly god of origins is now?" "You got me there. How would I know where the heavenly god of origins is now?" Yin Nuashing thought. Maybe she's still in the cycle of reincarnation. Otherwise, why wouldn't she show up when such a big thing happened in this world? Oh, things aren't particularly serious now, so it's not time for her to show up? That makes sense. Hearing this, the little angel shook her head slightly. "No. Oh, you don't know yet. Forget it. I'll tell you later." "Later? Huh?" Yin Nuashing was stunned. Before she could react, she was dragged away again. She watched as the little angel carried her around and went back to find Yuan Kong, who had been knocked away, and See Yu, who was still in a daze. Then, she brought the two little girls back to the small mountain. On the way back, Yuan Kong kept staring at Yin Nuashing and muttered, "The beast who stole my big sister. Pervert. And so intimate. F***CK." Yuan Kong had tried very hard to suppress her voice, but her voice was so soft that even See Yu could hear it clearly. The three of them were speechless. The little angel couldn't take it anymore. She knocked Yuan Kong's head with her knife and said in a gentle voice, "Don't talk nonsense. He's your brother-in-law." Yin Nuashing's face was sweating even more. He couldn't refute it, but if he didn't refute it, it didn't seem like there was anything wrong with it. Sigh. It was better not to worry about it. After settling the two little girls on the small mountain, the little angel dragged Yin Nuashing into the god realm. Oh no, it didn't charge. It just stood on a mountain next to it and teleported. Furthermore, Yin Nuashing could see that they were teleporting to the deeper space of the god realm. It was just like the independent space of his observer, which was located at the bottom of the god realm and used to imprison criminals. Now that those people were all dead, there were no new visitors to that space for the time being. "Where are we going?" Yin Nuashing tilted his head and looked at it. He could only feel that they were going deeper and deeper, but he didn't know where they were going. "The bottom of the god realm. Hui is waiting for you there," it said simply. Then, after thinking for a moment, it said, "I wonder if you heard a rumble from the god realm when you just arrived?" "I heard it. What does that have to do with Hui?" Yin Nuashing suddenly froze and broke out in cold sweat. "Don't tell me that bastard went to reactivate the origin heavenly god's protection himself?" "Yes." It nodded, but he seems to have encountered some problems. First, it affected the rules of the god realm. Secondly, I don't know. He is now trapped in that space to suppress the turbulent origin energy. He needs your help." Yin Nuashing tilted his head and looked at the little angel. When the girl was talking about these things, she grabbed his hand tightly, as if she was afraid that he would suddenly disappear again. The last time he borrowed the origin energy to resonate with the timeline, it stood beside him and watched. At that time, he suddenly touched the origin energy with his hand, and it really scared the hell out of her. He reached out and patted the little angel's hair. "Don't worry, it should be fine. This time is different from the last time. This time, my energy is also tainted with the aura of the origin energy. I can't be at ease." It glanced at him and lowered its eyelids slightly. There was a hint of bitterness in its low voice. Every time you say don't worry, but when did you really let others feel relieved? If I didn't know that only you and he can solve this problem, I wouldn't have let you come here. Yin Nuashing smiled bitterly. He finally understood that the little angel was talking about the last time he fiddled with the origin energy and the sudden disappearance this time. Yin Nuashing shook his head and reached out to stroke the little angel's long hair. He did not say anything about these things. In fact, he also knew his own virtue. If it was so easy to change, he would not be Yin Nuashing. The teleportation lasted for 5 minutes and then stopped. Yin Nuashing and the little angel stood firmly on the ground. This place was different from the place where the timeline resonated. Looking around, there was a red mountain range in the distance. The sky was also a strange dark red, and there were colorful energy lines hanging in the sky, circling in an arc. And under their feet was a blue ice field, clean and clear, which could be used as a mirror to reflect the dark red sky. This space, Yin Nuashing frowned. This space actually had the appearance of a real sky. He had thought that it would be a strange space like that independent space. Oh, in that case, this space was strange enough, but he felt that it was even more strange. Yin Nuashing looked at the scene in front of him in surprise. He felt as if he had come to a strange space in the depths of a dream. The ice field under his feet. He thought it was an ice field, but in fact, it was like a swamp of ice. He could step on it with a little force, and it would take a little effort to pull it out. However, if he walked on the ice surface lightly, it would be like an ordinary ice surface. The red mountains in the distance would emit a red aura, as if those auras had dyed the sky red. Then, in another direction, a piece of the not fixed dark red sky collapsed. It fell from the sky like magma, streaking across space bit by bit, and it quickly piled up a red mountain range on the ground. There was also a river that was mixed with light purple and light blue. There was no other movement for the time being. This place is like a certain space in the depths of a dream. Yin Nuashing could not help but say. The sky did not look like a real sky. The mountains were not mountains, and the ice was not ice. Everything was imagined. The imagined things maintained a fragile balance, just like the world in a child's mind. Everything could be changed at will, but it would not be fixed. It was worth mentioning that when the dark red color in the sky faded, Yin Nuashing could still see a reflection of the land hanging in the sky. It was as ethereal and blurry as a mirage. He could only see a light blue and light purple forest. Those trees were all pointed at the land on this side of the land like the tip of a knife. It was creepy. Yin Nuashing shouted into the distance. After waiting for a while, he did not get a response. He could not help but look at the little angel. Strange, there is no response. It also shook its head in confusion. But I know where he is. If he did not notice us, we can only run there ourselves. In this strange space, Yin Nuashing's cheeks twitched. He had a feeling that he would encounter some strange things here. Chapter 1335. At the bottom of the realm of the gods, there was a strange space that was completely different from the real world. Common sense was completely lost here. Everything one saw and knew was something they had never seen before. It was as if they had plunged into a world that was entirely made of amorphous materials. It was like the world at the bottom of a child's dream. It was naive and simple, but too abstract. This space is so desolate. Yin Nuashing looked into the distance and could not help but frown. There were many things in this space, but it seemed a little monotonous. Everything repeated its own appearance, one fixed or two strange things that were constantly changing. He subconsciously stepped on the ice field a few times and looked in all directions. Then, he used his hands to make a few gestures in the space. If there is any need to make a move in this place, I don't know if it will affect anything. Why don't we try it? As the little angel spoke, she waved her jade-like hand in front of her. An energy storm condensed from divine power bloomed in the distance. It shot up into the sky and engulfed the dark red sky of the mountains, turning it into a golden red storm. When the storm disappeared, the things that had been blown apart regrouped in less than a minute and returned to their original appearance. However, The arrangement of the mountains and the patterns in the sky had been reorganized. The power of the rules. Yin Nuoxing's eyes flashed. He reached out his hand and triggered a weak energy vibration in the distance. After a moment, he nodded and confirmed something. Yes, it is the power of the rules. The energy that can be used in this space seems to be the power of the rules. There is no other energy aura. The strength depends on the power of the rules. Probably, but there is something else. Let me see. Yin Nuoxing looked into the distance. His eyelids drooped slightly, and there was some silver-white light in his eyes. After about 2 minutes, he returned to normal. He looked at the little angel and said, "The space is a little shaky. It seems that it has reached the limit of what it can carry." The little angel heard him and sensed it herself. Her expression was a little strange. "The last time I came here, there was no such situation, and this kind of turbulence seems to be able to affect the realm of the gods. It's probably because I came in this time. Since the energy used in this place is the power of laws, and the energy contained here is also closely related to the power of laws, then the stability of this space might also be related to the power of laws. If that's the case, if a life form with an excessively strong power of laws enters this space, it's very likely that the foundation of this space will be shaken and its stability will decrease." Yin Nuoxing raised her head and gave her analysis. "I've just observed the extent and movement of the shaking. If I don't want to affect the realm of the gods at all, I'll have to leave within 3 days and leave the spatial capacity to Hui. There shouldn't be anything that requires the use of large amounts of energy in this place, right?" Yin Nuoxing lowered her head and looked into the distance. She smacked her lips. "It would be terrible if there was a need to use energy. What will happen? Nothing much. The worst-case scenario is that this space will collapse. Then, who knows what kind of effect it will have. It's just like gambling. But this is related to the realm of the gods, so it's best not to gamble casually. It would be better if we could find Hui easily." Yin Nuoxing took out a token and waved it around the space. But, to his disappointment, the token did not respond. It seemed that this little thing that had the aura of the other party in this space would not allow him to find the guy who was playing hide-and-seek. The little angel saw his actions and guessed what he was thinking. Suddenly, she remembered something. She squatted down and rubbed the ice field that looked like ice but was not ice. "I remember him telling me that if there was a chance, there was a way to find him. I found him. Look." Yin Nuoxing lowered her head and looked at the egg-shaped golden sword that had appeared at her feet. The tip of the sword pointed into the distance, as if it was pointing to a destination. Easy to understand. Easy to understand, my ass. If it was not for the tacit understanding between the two, Yin Nuoxing would have to spend a lot of time to understand the meaning of this strange pattern. Sure enough, teleportation won't work. If I use the laws of the universe to teleport, the amount of laws used will be too large, and it will disturb the stability of this space. Yin Nuoxing tried to activate all kinds of teleportation methods. Although he found a useful method, he decisively gave up after trying it. After all, this was not the kind of space in the real world where he could casually mess around. In this space, where a casual move could affect the real-world space, if he still messed around, it was purely because he felt that he had nothing better to do and wanted to work extra hours for himself. After thinking about it, Yin Nuoxing decided to run over with the little angel. Just as they moved forward, the golden long sword imprinted on the ground like an arrowhead suddenly appeared and pointed straight ahead. It was still spinning around its central axis, as if it was attracting their attention. "So, we just have to walk in this straight line?" Yin Nuoxing put her hand on her forehead and looked into the distance. She pulled the little angel and jumped a long distance away. A crack appeared in the space behind them because of their fast movement. It was as if the sky had suddenly opened up in a dense forest, revealing the scenery below. The crack lasted for a full minute before gradually dissipating. Yin Nuoxing's laws of the universe were too powerful. A casual movement could cause a huge commotion. The commotion caused by this space was considered small. "Little star, where did you go?" The tremors in the god world are getting stronger and stronger. It seems like the entire god world is having an earthquake. The two of them had just walked for a while when this sentence rang in Yun Nuoxing's mind. She couldn't help but tremble and squint her eyes. It seemed that entering this strange space had affected the stability of the God world's laws. Then, she could also confirm where this self-healing that had mysteriously disappeared in the God world had gone. It was probably because of Huey's entry. Time is of the essence, so I won't say much. This is the commotion caused by our hard work. You don't have to be nervous. It should be resolved soon. Go and inform I Ching and Qing Jun, tell them to guard the God world, and don't let there be any riots in any area. After hearing this, there was no other sound. C was slightly stunned. It seemed like Little Star was right. The situation over there was a little urgent. That's why it's not easy to use this identity sometimes. Yin Nuoxing complained as she walked. My law is too strong. Part of the reason is because of myself, and the other part is because of my identity as the observer of the God world. My karma is too entangled with the God world, and now it's a little difficult to distinguish. Hui is the same. If it's just one of us entering this space, it won't be a problem. But if the two of us enter together with you, girl, this space will explode. If you have any complaints, why don't you just resign? She couldn't help but mutter. I don't have any complaints, but I do complain occasionally. As for resigning, at most, I'll take an indefinite vacation. This priesthood is lifelong. You see, it's already 139 years, and I'm still the observer. Yin Nuoxing shrugged and smiled bitterly. An indefinite vacation. She smiled bitterly. If it was a vacation, it would be true. Even though he had been reincarnating in the lower realm for so many years, the observer's priesthood had never changed. It was as if it had to be him. Even after reincarnation, he would still be appointed as the observer of the God world. It was inconceivable. This tyrant's contract was too overbearing. A big crack that cut across the ice field appeared in front of them, blocking Yin Nuoxing and the other's path. She couldn't help but be stunned. When she saw the long ravine, she wanted to fly into it. Thinking of the movement she made when she flew up, she tried her best to stop herself. She couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Just as she was about to take a detour, she heard a rumbling sound. Rumble. There was a low, rumbling sound, as if something was rampaging with the momentum of an army. First, it shook the space, then the ice field and the sky. Yin Nuoxing quickly looked around, but he didn't see anything that could cause such a movement. He exchanged a glance with the little angel, and then they both felt something at the same time. They raised their heads together and saw a rainbow falling from the sky. No, it wasn't a rainbow, but a huge, flowing waterfall. The sky collapsed, and the waterfall that was condensed from the energy of thousands of rules gathered and fell down. The brilliant light was so colorful that it almost blinded Yin Nuoxing's eyes. However, at this moment, he just wanted to raise his middle finger and curse, because the rainbow waterfall was coming for them. To be more specific, the rainbow rushed toward the huge crack in the ice field in front of them and plunged into it. The water on both sides hit the ice wall of the crack with a violent impact, causing the entire ice field to shake. As for Yin Nuoxing and the others, they were dumbfounded at the moment. Aren't we going to run? The little angel's face was pale as she pulled Yin Nuoxing's arm. Even they, who could only use the power of rules, were swept into the terrifying energy torrent at this moment. They wouldn't die, but the extent of their injuries would depend on their luck. Girl, open your realm of rules. Yin Nuoxing carried the little angel up without saying a word. His eyes flashed wildly as he looked at the energy waterfall that fell from the sky like a curtain that covered their vision. Are you going to rush over? He was shocked and wanted to struggle, but he realized that he was being hugged so tightly that he couldn't move. Little star, calm down. There are thousands of energy of rules gathered there. Even the heavens don't know what will happen if we rush and rashly. It's not safe at all. Why don't we go around? Hey, don't. Wah. Yin Nuoxing took a few steps forward, then hugged the little angel, who was shrieking in his arms with a pale face, and rushed out of the crack with a trail of white frost. The latter could only subconsciously open her rule domain, then tightly wrapped him with her wings, her mind blank. Nuashing took a deep breath and adjusted his body slightly. He retracted his legs and prepared to kick out. In this short moment, they had plunged into the colorful energy torrent. The unparalleled, explosive energy swept past them, but was blocked by a thin layer of the realm of rules. When he was about to lose his strength halfway, Nuashing's retracted legs suddenly kicked out. Using the rainbow-like waterfall wall as a starting point, he rushed out again. He rushed out from the other end of the colorful energy torrent and then landed steadily on the ice surface at the other end with the little angel. No, it was no longer the ice surface. The place where they landed was a dark red mountain range. Standing at this end of the storm was very close to the ground. Looking at the bottom of the storm, they realized that it was more magnificent and bigger than they imagined. It spread to the left and right, and it was difficult to see the end of it even when they looked at it. Ugh, how'd we get here safely? The little angel trembled and opened her eyes. She couldn't help but be stunned when she found that she was completely fine. You didn't even make such a big commotion when we passed through the god-destroying storm. You just passed through some abandoned realm of rules. Why are you so exaggerated? Nuashing looked at her and couldn't help but shake his head. She muttered a meaningless syllable and slowly struggled out of his arms. Looking at the colorful waterfall behind her, she couldn't help but ask, "What did you say that was?" The power of the precepts that settled in the celestial realm. I just figured it out. If we compare the precepts to a lump of mud, destroying the precepts would either destroy its shape, reduce its mass, or change its nature. However, the part that was changed is only a small part compared to the whole. Where do you think it went? Nuashing asked. Last time, you said that it all settled at the bottom of the sea of rules, right? Nuashing nodded and pointed to the rainbow waterfall. This seems to be the process. It's just a flood of abandoned rules. It doesn't have much destructive power. It's just that the huge size and scale of the waterfall created a sense of oppression. Most importantly, you're scaring yourself. It's actually not that powerful. The little angel blushed and punched his chest in embarrassment. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Nuashing laughed dryly. I only realized it when I was passing by. I was going to force my way through. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked you to hold up the realm of rules. So you're going to take another risk just now? Habit. Ahem. Let's move on. Nuashing laughed dryly. Feeling indignant, the little angel stared at the rainbow waterfall behind her without blinking. Looking away from its terrifying appearance, it was just like looking at the storm of divine destruction again. But it didn't have the patterns and the sacred oppression of the latter. It was different in many ways, but it was just as beautiful. But when she remembered that it was a fragment of the abandoned rules of the realm of the gods, she had a strange feeling. Does the realm of the gods throw away so many abandoned rules every day? Of course not. Nuashing shook her head. Haven't they been repairing the creation's barrier recently? The repair of the damaged parts have created brand new rules. The old parts will naturally be washed away. Also, it's probably a time lapse. The flood doesn't happen all the time. It should only be opened when the worn-out garbage has accumulated to a certain extent. We can only say that we're lucky to have seen it by chance. Indeed, putting aside all the other strange reasons, we found the rainbow waterfall very spectacular. But time was of the essence, and there were more important things at hand, so he didn't have time to look at it. The two stopped and looked at it for a few minutes. Then, hand in hand, they dashed into the distance. First, they could not teleport, and second, they could not fly. They could only jump and run between the strange mountains and forests, and they could not use any energy. But even so, their speed was very fast. In less than 10 minutes, they had crossed the strange dark red mountain range, and then a plain full of frost-colored weeds. Nuashing recognized many things, and gradually he had a more detailed understanding of this space. This space could be seen as an abstract fantasy scene of the rules of the realm of the gods. Everything, even if it was just a faint difference in color, represented a kind of rule power. Take the frost-colored grass, for example. It was full of vitality. He could feel that it was a little similar to the life that existed in the realm of the gods. The rainbow waterfall far away, just now had said that it was a flood in the dark red mountain range and the rising smoke. It was probably some kind of more abstract phenomenon, but without reference, he could not understand it for a while. This is an abstraction of the rules of the realm of the gods. When the power of the realm of the gods and the rules themselves become objects, it's easy to perform any special operations. And those operations will most likely affect the realm of the gods or influence it with the power of the realm of the gods. I think I know what we want to do. But that guy's really brave. It's a very dangerous move, and he might even lose himself first. Lose himself? It was shocked. Staying in this world of abstract rules for too long, even our bodies will be tainted with part of the aura here. The assimilation here will try to abstract the rules on our bodies. In short, when the assimilation happens, your wings might become a mountain range that stretches for tens of thousands of miles. Your hair might become a river. Your breath would become the air here, and so on. Yin Nuashing said, twirling her fingers. Fortunately, the rules on our bodies are strong and solid. It won't be that easy to be assimilated, and a considerable part of the rules comes from the realm of the gods. It will take a very, very long time for the space here to assimilate the rules on our bodies. There's no need to worry for the time being. You're special too, so there's no need to worry. A flash of energy suddenly swept across the sky like a meteor with a long trail of energy flames. But the difference was that it didn't fall down. Instead, it suddenly made a sharp turn when it fell to a certain extent. Then, it spun in a huge circle on the plane where it stopped for a whole minute before disappearing. It was like a reckless meteor that couldn't find its landing spot. That meteor got lost? The little angel tilted her head and said blankly, "Well, let's keep going. According to the direction it pointed out, we should be almost there. Look at this." Yin Nuashing laughed dryly for a while. Then, she found something on the ground and quickly bent down. There was a huge orange mark on the ground. It looked like the mark left behind by a mole, but it was much bigger. Upon closer inspection, it was very neat. It was a huge thing. The mud and orange were just its lines. It almost looked like the real thing. Yin Nuashing raised her head and looked at the orange and mud lines. She saw an arched object growing bigger and bigger. It looked like a huge snake that was crawling on the ground. It gradually spread into the distance. When they saw the end of the huge snake, both of them couldn't help but be shocked. Thousands of huge orange and mud snakes descended from all directions and even the sky. Parts of their bodies slithered in all directions, but when they approached the place where they gathered, they all curled up together like knotted chains. They formed a hollow ball together and locked something inside. And inside the ball, Yin Nuashing could clearly see a white figure sitting cross-legged in the ball formed by the huge snakes. His body and neck were covered with small orange snakes, as if they were sealed. The figure sitting cross-legged in the ball also felt something and opened his eyes. When he saw the two of them, he smiled brightly. "Yo, Yin Nuashing and the little angel, is this the time to say yo?" Chapter 1336. Giant orange snakes, stained with mud, came from all directions, under the ground and in the sky. It was like a giant snake nest, a giant snake mountain range. Sitting in the center of the mountain range was the guardian, who had disappeared for a long time. Yin Nuashing and the others ran here, but did not see any movement from him. His current condition, Yin Nuashing could not tell if his condition was good or not. Just from a surface, it might not be too good. "How did you end up like this?" "Forget it. Let's talk about it after I get you out." Yin Nuashing was halfway through his sentence when he realized that this was not a good opportunity to reminisce about the past. He immediately condensed his rule force and was about to split the snakes that were entangled in a nest. However, Hui hurriedly said something to stop him. Hey, wait. I made the seal myself. The purpose is to suppress this place. If you slash me, I will be reduced to ashes along with this bottom world." Seeing Yin Nuashing stop in confusion, Hui heaved a sigh of relief. He pointed at the giant snake sitting below and said, "Below here is the spring of that thing. If I leave it there at the beginning, there won't be any movement. Just say it." A few months ago, I was a little anxious. I came here to use the origin energy to restart the protection of the heavenly god of origin. I didn't expect their reaction to be so big. They almost buried me. We smiled awkwardly. Yin Nuashing took a deep breath and said, "That is to say, the seal under your asterisk is suppressing the violent origin energy, right?" We trembled and nodded with a dry smile. Then, he explained to himself unwillingly. Actually, I almost succeeded. However, I was a little anxious in the end. I didn't do it properly. That's why they wanted to rush out like a swarm of bees. Huh, don't go. I'm serious. Phone, don't leave me here. I've suppressed myself here, but I still can't handle it. After a while, it will explode. Come back. Sob, sob, sob. Yin Nuashing's foot slipped, and she almost slipped into the rift next to her. She said to the little angel with a dark expression, "How long has that bastard been suppressed here?" The little angel raised her head slightly and thought for a moment. "I came in less than 2 months after you left. Then he could be suppressed for another year. Let him stay there." Yin Nuashing looked at the pale Hui with a faint smile. "Ahem. All right, let's stop messing around. I was wrong this time. I didn't expect such an accident to happen. I was wrong, okay? In the future, I will never do such a high-risk thing alone." Hui raised his hands to show his submission. Yin Nuashing had a look of disdain on her face, as if she was looking at a maggot. We did not know whether to laugh or cry. This time, he was not in the right and could only accept his fate. Of all things to learn, I went to risk my life. After I'm done, I'm still trapped here. If you have the ability, go and risk your life. If you have the ability, come back yourself. You tortured yourself like this and still need others to save you. You are a guardian. Yin Nuashing walked forward with her arms crossed and could not help but lecture him. He scratched his head and laughed dryly. His face was almost buried in the snake's nest. Looking at his sad face, Yin Nuashing felt that it was about time to shut up. She wrinkled her nose and asked, "So what do you want to do?" We looked up and saw that Yin Nuashing and the little angel had walked up to him and were looking at him condescendingly. Hui shrank his neck and pointed downwards. "There is a rule formation of order below. I drew it according to the one that I extracted from the sea of rules in my memory. Theoretically speaking, there shouldn't be any mistakes. If it succeeds, it will spread the energy belonging to the god of origin all the way to the void. Then, with the help of the rules of the void, it will spread to the entire 8 elements realm and then affect the primordial realm below. Theoretically speaking, this should be the case, but I don't know why it went wrong. I tried to save the snake for a long time and almost destroyed this rule manifested space." Yin Nuashing glanced at the ground below the snake's nest. Under Huey's control, a magic formation slowly emerged on the ground. Just looking at it was dazzling. Just looking at it made Yin Nuashing dizzy. When she finally finished looking around, she only brought back a mess of information. "I'm afraid this is something that only the Yuanshi realm can come into contact with. Haha, the Guardian's power can do this. It's just drawing a pattern. It's not difficult. It's also verified that it can be used. But I don't know why it went wrong. I don't know if it's..." Hui grinned, but his face turned sour halfway. Yin Nuashing jumped down from the snake's nest with the little angel. She ignored Huey's nagging and squatted on the ground to examine the never-before-seen magic formation. After a while, she reached out her hand and pressed on it. Suddenly, his expression trembled. The origin mark on his body suddenly emerged, and even the energy in his body became a little restless. The little angel quickly squatted down and put a pair of wings on his body. The origin mark is stirring. It seems that it really has something to do with the origin god. Are you okay? No, I'm fine for now. It's just a reaction when I meet an old friend. Yin Nuashing shook her head and pointed to the ground below. There's a fountain below. It's full of the origin energy. It's because of the origin energy that my energy has changed. Now that I've come into contact with it again, well, I have a feeling that if I come into contact with the origin energy this time, there won't be the same effect as last time. And there was a desire in his heart, but he did not dare to say it out loud. He was afraid that the little angel would slap him into the ground and turn him upside down. Anyway, he knew that he had a special feeling for the origin energy. It was just a thought. He did not dare to touch it casually. After all, it was the origin energy. The last time he touched it, he used it as a transfer station. The remaining origin energy in his body made him forget what his original energy was like. It took him decades to completely clean it up. Who knew if he would feel anything when he touched it again? And then, what do you want to do? Yin Nuoxing raised her head and roared at the guy who was nagging. I don't know. Yin Nuoxing and the little angel. If you joke again, I'll leave you here, okay? I'm not joking. I don't know what to do either. I've never done this before. I just followed the steps and did it step by step. Who knows? Why don't you try it again? Hui had a troubled look on his face. Who would have the experience of activating the first great deity's protection? It would be the first time for anyone else. Yin Nuoxing's cheeks twitched. Just as he was about to ask how to do it, a light flashed in his mind. Hui had given him information on how to activate the first-generation great deity's protection. It was indeed a tutorial that was divided into several steps for idiots. It was likely that anyone with the same level of strength would be able to learn it after reading it. It was not that difficult. After that, Hui had been trapped here. If it was really not that difficult, the guardians of the realm of the gods would not have sacrificed themselves to seal him here. Speaking of which, haven't you thought about why this thing exists? Yin Nuoxing lowered her head and looked at the magic circle. She planned to follow the steps and do it again. There really is a tutorial for activating the great deity's protection. The existence of this thing is suspicious. Could it be that the gods of origin knew that they would die one day and the protection would disappear, so they left the tutorial for the successor to activate it again when necessary? I don't think that makes sense. That? No, that's not it. I spent a year organizing the steps. Who would keep that tutorial for no reason? Hui was stunned. He waved his hand and said, "It's just some information recorded in the world core and the sea of laws of the realm of the gods." Yin Nuoxing's finger that was fine-tuning the magic circle trembled. She quickly retracted her finger. Her face was dark. "Can I ask you something? Is there a problem with your reading ability?" No. Hui flashed a bright smile and gave her a thumbs up. "There's definitely no problem. I'd rather joke about myself than about you. There's no problem at all. Don't worry." 2 seconds later, his face turned serious and he laughed dryly. "Probably. Did you come here with the intention of perishing together with me?" Cough, cough. "I really didn't. Don't worry about it. I'm still waiting here for a what-if." Yin Nuoxing looked at him and then at the magic circle on the ground. She muttered a few words and continued what she was doing just now. She couldn't help but mutter, "Damn you. You're not even a magic circle master. How can you draw a magic circle of this scale? This magic circle is missing a lot of parts. You even dare to activate it. And it's something of this level. Do you really want to perish together with me?" Hui smiled bitterly. "I really don't. Forget it. If we perish together, then so be it. What's the big deal if I go all out with you?" Yin Nuoxing grinned and interrupted him. 6 dark red divine halos appeared behind her. Although she complained a lot, she was not careless at all when she started to act. Hui saw Yin Nuoxing's serious look and couldn't help but sigh. He didn't want to solve this problem by himself. He knew that the observer's power could not handle certain things well, such as the underlying information and the origin energy. The last time he saw the origin energy left in Yin Nuoxing's body, he was shocked. This time, he wanted to avoid such a situation as much as possible, so he did it by himself. He didn't expect to make a fool of himself. He didn't do it well and even got himself trapped here. In the end, he even called his old friend over. He was very upset. 2 hours later, Yin Nuoxing wiped the sweat from her palms and looked at the magic circle that she had completed. She then looked up at Hui and said, "Other than the magic circle, I can't understand the other things very well. Are you sure you didn't leave any fatal mistakes in those places?" "Probably not." Yin Nuoxing took a deep breath. "Are you reliable or not?" "Of course. I don't know. It's fine if you want me to fight and kill, but how do I know if I can handle this kind of high-tech stuff?" The little angel even had the idea of dragging Yin Nuoxing away. However, The latter's face was dark. He had a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. Oh no, it would be better to say that he was a guy who was ready to sacrifice himself for the realm of the gods. Seeing that he had been working here for 2 hours, there was bound to be follow-up actions. I really can't handle the rest. Whether it works or not, it's up to fate. Yin Washing sighed and stomped her feet on the ground. The dark red energy that was full of the power of the natural order surged out from her body and rushed into the magic circle under her feet with the sound of rolling waves. The whole white magic circle was suddenly dyed dark red at this moment, and a huge burst of energy burst out. At worst, I'll go down and accompany you. We saw that Yun Nuashing was about to make a move and quickly focused. The origin energy that was originally blocked under their feet started to roll again at this moment, but it was not a riot. Instead, it was a movement that was guided by something special. It was running along a trace. At present, it was still very stable, and there was no intention of turning the world upside down. Phone, it seems that your energy has some affinity with the origin energy after fusing with it. Even when I used the Guardian's power to mobilize it, it didn't run so smoothly. We looked at the traces of the energy flow and could not help but say. The dark red magic circle also moved along with the changes in Yun Nuashing and the origin energy. Many energy threads emerged from its edge and spread out to the outer circle, condensing into exquisite patterns on the ground. At the same time, he noticed that something in this world where the natural order was materialized was disintegrating. Then, it turned into an aura and floated toward them. On the way, all the colors dissipated and turned into pure white that surged into the magic circle. That was the power of the natural order of this world, the power of the natural order of the realm of the gods. They seemed to know what was going to happen and wanted to help him. We knew that Yun Nuashing only knew a little about that part of the information. When Yun Nuashing was running the magic circle, he was guiding him from above and monitoring the origin energy that was suppressed under his feet. He felt that everything was calm at the moment, and it was the kind that could not be more calm. He was slightly relieved. Boom! There was a faint tremor in this world, but being in this place, it seemed that they could observe the situation outside. The little angel heard a faint rumble in the modern realm, as if the realm of the gods itself was making uneasy noises. Once again, it attracted everyone's attention, but they didn't know where it was coming from. There's movement in the realm of the gods, she whispered in a low voice. She turned her head and saw Yun Nuashing, who was sweating profusely. She was shocked. Are you okay? Don't worry. I'm fine for the time being. Yun Nuashing took a deep breath and nodded. This was the first time he was running such a powerful magic circle. Haha, a magic circle of the primeval realm. Just by using it a little, he felt that his own energy was pouring down like a river of stars. It was only because his energy capacity was thousands of times more than other people of the same realm that he could withstand such a consumption. If it was someone else, they would have been drained dry by now. He stared at the magic circle and the origin energy. He just saw the whole magic circle flicker. The dark red magic circle had just completely come into contact with the origin energy. It was no longer a little touch. This time, it was directly irrigated by the origin energy. It was helping Yun Nuashing to develop the magic circle and was ready to crash into the void. It reminds me of some unpleasant memories. Yun Nuashing muttered to herself. When she saw the little angel looking at her, she continued, previously, when the origin energy flowed through me, I saw something, but it wasn't very clear. It gave me goosebumps. Now the little angel understood. All of her attention and half of her consciousness were hanging on the dark red magic circle. Now that the origin energy was completely connected with the magic circle, it was as if she had jumped into the sea of origin energy again. She did not have any good memories the last time. This time, she came into contact with the origin energy again through the magic circle, which made her tremble with fear. In fact, Yun Nuashing had already come into contact with the origin energy. She had already touched it when she first started to move the magic circle. There was only a thin layer between her and the origin energy. When she sent out most of her consciousness, she had already touched it. But this time, the origin energy was not running around in her body. It slipped under her feet from time to time, just like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. Every time it touched her, she would break out in cold sweat. Although the little angel noticed that something was wrong with her, she did not know what she had encountered. She could only watch from the side. Her consciousness came into contact with the origin energy through the magic circle. This time, she seemed to be able to see the images clearly. When her consciousness crossed this layer of the magic circle, it was like crossing a dividing line. Everything she perceived in the world was refreshed. She fell from an already magical world into another colorful world. She saw countless colors passing by her and flowing away. Every color was a kind of origin energy. There were 100 or 200 of them mixed together, but they did not look out of place. They were like flowing water, like traces of flowing light. Huey's voice seemed to come from above, but it also seemed to come from the top of her consciousness. Phone, the stability has dropped a little. The magic circle has just been successfully extended. Do you want to take a break first? Yin Nuashing took a deep breath and completely calmed herself down. She no longer trembled because of the origin energy poking her from time to time. If I say I can't stop, would you believe me? What? Hui and the little angel were shocked at the same time. I'm stuck. Yin Nuashing gritted his teeth, his face full of sweat. I'm stuck by this thing. Forget it. Let's not worry about it first. I can still hold on for a while. What should we do next? Next? There's no next. The next thing you need to do is to continue guiding. When the accumulated origin energy can rush into the void, it will be considered done. We said in a daze. Are you sure you're okay? The problem? Yin Nuashing smiled bitterly. It would be strange if there was no problem. When was there ever a time when she handled these things without problems? But now, she could not care less about whether there were problems or not. A weak vibration came again. This time, it came from the part of her consciousness that she had separated. The colorful light in front of her suddenly trembled violently. The whole picture shattered and reformed in an instant. The picture turned into a huge, colorful energy ball that was constantly beating like a heart. That energy ball was still vibrating violently. The amplitude of the vibrations on the left and the right were different. Her consciousness was like a piece of duckweed in front of that energy ball. Every time it vibrated, it would make her feel a great pressure. However, it was a pressure of deception. That origin energy seemed to be just scaring her and did not really intend to do anything to her. When you did it last time, did you see the origin energy vibrating? Or rather, did you see the whole space vibrating? Yin Nuashing felt uneasy. This feeling scared even herself. Every time this feeling of uneasiness appeared, something would happen. Hui was also stunned when he heard this. He thought for a few seconds and scratched his head. What space? What vibrating? What are you talking about? Didn't you see? This is the space where the origin energy is stored. Didn't you see it last time? Yin Nuashing was sweating more and more. I saw it, but Hui was so anxious that he was sweating. But I didn't see anything. That space at the bottom of the realm of the gods stores the origin energy, but there was nothing there. The space that stores it is a special space built on concepts and laws. And I can't understand that space for the time being, so we can't see it. Wait a minute, that means... Phone, did you understand something? What did you see in that space? He skipped 3 topics in one sentence. Yin Nuashing smiled bitterly. He only had time to answer the last question. Just as I said, and there was a bit of resistance and confusion. It was as if I could understand their movements, although they were moving according to the guidance. But now they have returned to their original place in a daze. It was as if they could not understand our actions. You can already see to this extent. Hui had a strange expression on his face. Yin Nuashing's eyes flickered. This stalemate was not a solution. He could at most last for less than 15 minutes. After that time, if he was still stuck here, he would have to report to the path of reincarnation first. Thinking of this, he looked at the constantly vibrating mass of energy that was as huge as a star. He gritted his teeth, and his consciousness rushed towards it. Chapter 1337. Wind. There was the sensation of wind, as if a gentle breeze was brushing past his face. There was light in front of his eyes, and he could also feel some subtle things like gravity, space, and time. These things naturally existed in the real world, but they also existed in this world. It was unknown what these movements represented in this world where the rules were materialized. No, he was not in that world now. He seemed to have rushed into the gathering of the origin energy. The moment he came into contact with it, he seemed to have been shaken, and his consciousness went into a temporary coma. Now, after a while, he woke up and found that the bright and dazzling space in front of him contained a lot of incomprehensible information that was completely in another realm. Inadvertently, some confusion arose in his mind. What was the difference between the origin energy and other energies? Although he had mastered a kind of origin energy if he really wanted to understand it. In fact, he still had no way to fully understand what it was. He could not very well summarize the difference between the origin energy and other energies. Yin Nuoxing's consciousness sank into this place, and he was thinking of ways to see if he could try to analyze something through this contact. As a result, before he could think of what to do, the space suddenly rumbled, and then he felt that the whole world was collapsing and extending towards a certain place. The suction pulled him and took him somewhere. What is the trajectory of the origin energy? That's right, that magic circle is still in operation, urging the origin energy to follow a certain trajectory. Thinking clearly about this matter, Yin Nuoxing let down some unnecessary vigilance and followed the flow of this colorful origin energy. It was as if he was in a surging river, following the flow of the river. It was just that being in the energy, the actual feeling was more realistic, and he felt a little dizzy from the spinning. Putting aside the other thoughts in his mind, he merged all his consciousness into this ball of energy, trying his best to cover as many places as possible with his senses. His eyebrows slightly furrowed. It's that feeling again, that faintly discernible incomprehension and helplessness. It was like a group of divine champions who obeyed the orders of a certain mortal. They knew that doing so would not end well, but they had to do it. The origin energy had some weak consciousness, which surprised him. This weak consciousness would not cause any special changes to it, and there was no movement because of his sudden intrusion. It did not seem to affect anything. It probably made the person or God who used this energy realize that there was a problem in the flow of the energy or something. Generally speaking, it was not a big deal. But this time, he could easily understand the problem between the magic circle and the origin energy. At first, Yin Nuoxing thought that his understanding of the magic circle was not enough. Even if he made some minor adjustments, he could not make the magic circle perfect, and so the origin energy did not know what to do. After all, the origin energy was guided by the primeval magic circle. If the magic circle master controlled the entire process, there would not be such a problem. But he did not know what to do and could only give all control to the magic circle. Under such circumstances, if there was a problem with the magic circle, there would naturally be no way for it to operate properly. However, when he followed the origin energy around and felt that the origin energy was still in a confused state, he realized that the problem was beyond his expectations. Either there was a problem with the entire magic circle, or there was a problem with the magic circle's purpose of activating the origin energy, so there was no way for it to carry out that command. Either way, these two answers were very troublesome. The former meant that there was a problem with the magic circle. He had done all he could to perfect the part he could understand, and there was no other way. The latter meant that there was something wrong with the protection of the primeval god, and perhaps it could not be activated. There's no way to solve either situation. Is this a dead end? Yin Nuoxing felt a headache, and the pain made him feel a little irritated. He was a little restless, and time passed faster and faster in his anxiety. He felt that there was not much time left, and his consciousness was almost sweating from anxiety. But splash. His consciousness heard a splashing sound, like the sound of a waterfall crashing down, but he could not see anything in this pure color space, only a single sound. And in this space, Yin Nuoxing suddenly froze. He felt the origin energy again, and this time there were many emotions in it. There was impatience, indifference, a little impulsiveness, and others. It felt like he had plunged into a nest of sparrows, chattering endlessly. He even had auditory hallucinations, as if he could hear their conversation. What are those idiots up there doing? We've run hundreds of laps here. Are they done yet? I don't know. Anyway, that's the order. Let's run first. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows how to get rid of them? Those with strong attack power. Hurry up and fight them. I'm going to be mentally exhausted if we keep running. Why are we running aimlessly? I remember that we do have a purpose. Yes. There is indeed a mission. Mission. What is it again? What is it? Anyway, let's go and take a look first. That was purely his imagination. After all, the buzzing sound was endless, as if there were 100 mouths here discussing something noisily. The only thing worth noting was that there were no other living things here except for him. The only thing that was communicating was that big mass of colorful light. He thought that they were probably talking. The crackling energy waves were endless, and there was a lot of weak consciousness that kept changing over and over again. However, he did notice something unusual. The origin energy was flowing again, but this time the direction of the flow seemed to have changed. He did not know where it was going. The high-frequency and high-intensity energy flashed, making him a little dizzy. Along the way, it was as if he was riding on clouds and mist, but also as if he was being rolled in a whirlpool. He felt that he had left the area of the magic circle, and he did not know where he was going. A few seconds later, Yin Nuashing confirmed that her feeling was not wrong. The dark red magic circle suddenly lost all its energy and dimmed down. It maintained its size and turned into a grayish-white color. The roaring energy and movement all disappeared at once. It was quiet all around. Both the little angel and Hui were stunned. Huey's constipated expression suddenly changed and then became gloomy in a few seconds. What's going on? All the energy has disappeared? How is Maple? Look at Maple. The little angel quickly went to help Yin Nuashing, but before her hand could reach 5 inches away, she was bounced away by a powerful force. She was a little surprised. That force, it was the smell of origin energy, and it was not the energy that he had. I can't check. What should I do? He's running out of energy. Well, don't worry, I'll go and check. Huh? Hui was sweating profusely as he tried to comfort him, but after a moment, he was stunned. This movement, how did the origin energy run to another place? They are flowing towards the distance. I feel Maple's movement. He seems to be following it. Look carefully. The energy loss in Maple's body has stopped. The magic circle has lost the synergistic supply of the 2 types of energy and lost its effect. Don't worry, let's wait and see. As for Maple, he'll be fine. You see, when that guy mysteriously disappeared, he came back half dead. He's not as embarrassing as me. The little angel thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. That guy's ability to take risks and escape after getting into trouble was unquestionable. Anyway, it seemed that there was nothing they could do now. They could only wait. Countless buzzing sounds seemed to be shouting. This time, in addition to many strange emotional fluctuations, there was also excitement without exception. Here, even if one wanted to imagine something from the clues of a lot of noisy sounds, it was impossible to do so. Yin Nuashing's forehead was sweating instantly. He paid attention to their movements. In short, they were very excited. The energy fluctuations in the excitement seemed to be the same. He didn't know if it could be understood as a large group of people suddenly running to a place together very excitedly. They seemed to be a little fanatical, and he was an innocent passerby in this fanatical wave. He forced himself to imagine what those guys were doing. A large number of white ducks appeared inexplicably. The buzzing reverberating in his ears turned into a series of quacking sounds that shook the sky. It was so noisy that he felt dizzy. Just when he felt that he would die if he couldn't hold on to the destination and was about to jump out of the car, the whole moving wave suddenly stopped and threw him far away. But for the time being, he was still in this mass of energy. The incessant quacking in his ears turned into a series of frogs that sounded one after another. Found it! Found it! It's here! It's here! What do we have to do? What do we have to do? What do we have to do? I don't know what to do at all. What should we do? Speaking of which, we didn't leave for long. Not much, not much. So what do we have to do? Damn it. Damn it. We don't even remember what we have to do and just rushed out recklessly. Oh, I remember now. I remember now. First of all, we have to be united. No, that's behind. There's a prerequisite in front. We need something. Something. So what is it? I don't know. Don't we have something hanging behind us? It's conscious. It can move. It's alive. It's the breath of the same race. That's it. Throw it up. 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 Yin Nuashing suddenly felt a chill down his spine, because he clearly felt that there was an endless amount of energy that fell on him all at once. He clearly knew that there was a person who wanted to kill him. Well, to be honest, there was some kind of jointly formed will that fell on him. For example, all the humans within a radius of 1,000,000 miles suddenly had the idea of planting trees at the same time and began to carry it out in the next second. Compared to the idea of a thought, the action was a little bit faster. In other words, the thought had turned into a tide of motivation. In short, before he could react, he suddenly saw a blue ball of light coming out of nowhere in this round and colorful world and attacking him head-on. It directly hit his face and then separated like an octopus to bind his face, neck, shoulders, and entire upper body. Another ball stuck his entire lower body like mud. Then, a large number of balls of light emerged and circled him a few times. One by one, they pressed against his back and lifted him up as if they were lifting something. Yin Nuashing struggled hard, but he was just a carrier of consciousness. He had strength, but in the face of these spirits, his strength was nothing. I have something to say. Listen to me. We're on the same side. Please let me go. That strange thing is talking la 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 la. Is it talking to us? Can it actually listen to us? What strange words is it saying? I don't understand at all. By the way, the smell of that strange thing is so familiar. Familiar, that's it. Throw it up quickly. Throw it up quickly. United as one. United as an impregnable fortress. I'll throw it. Yin Nuashing only had time to scream before he saw himself being pushed up by 4 to 6 balls of light. The large ball of light suddenly separated and turned into more than 100 5-foot-wide balls of energy of different colors that slowly rotated around him. It looked like they were lifting him up to do something and escorting him along the way. Among them, a reddish-black ball of energy that was only a foot in size appeared from the side and landed on his forehead. After a while, it rolled along the track of his body and finally landed on his chest. He suddenly thought of something and his face turned pale. Wait a minute. The reddish-black ball of energy turned left and right and jumped when it heard his voice, as if it was trying to express something. Then it plunged into his chest. Yin Nuashing's face turned pale and he almost fainted. Since he didn't really faint, he immediately looked at his body and saw the ball of dark red energy turn into a faint light and disperse into every corner of his body. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. These guys were robbing his body again. No, they were seizing the nest. This was his body, his consciousness. Why did these spirits of origin like to enter his body? Holding back the urge to cry, Yin Nuashing quickly calmed down. He noticed that after the huge ball of light dissipated, the scene in front of him suddenly became clear. He didn't know where they had carried him. The surrounding space was filled with dense light spots that spread to the far end of the horizon. It was like a starry sky, but also like a pure void. Yin Nuashing struggled again, confirming that he was really kidnapped by these strange origin energy essences. He completely gave up the idea of struggling. If his real body came, he could still resist, but now he could forget about it. Thinking of this, a lot of strange thoughts appeared in his mind. Endless thoughts rose one after another. The wind is bleak, the water is cold. Ah, this is what the devil likes to say. Speaking of which, it doesn't seem too auspicious to think of this now. While he was still struggling with the auspicious and unlucky thoughts, he suddenly noticed that something slowly appeared in front of him and attracted all his attention. It was a green spherical cover covered with a lot of blue, red, yellow, and green stripes. He flew straight towards the cover and took advantage of this short period of time to quickly analyze the thing. But he gave up after trying. This thing was on the same level as the magic circle. As soon as he tried to analyze it, his brain showed signs of burning. Can you at least tell me what you were going to do to me? Cut me into pieces or cut me into sashimi? Steamed, braised, fried, and braised. Yun Nuashing struggled hard for a while, but he couldn't even move a millimeter. At most, he could only move his fingers and toes and move his lips. Buzz! The reddish-black origin energy essence that had just dissipated in his body flickered slightly in his heart. He still felt that it was talking, but he couldn't understand what it was saying. But judging from the trace of emotion that came out of it, it seemed to be comforting him. While he was on the verge of tears and trying to pull himself together, he had been carried to the center of the green mottled cover by a group of origin energy essences. At this moment, he noticed something else. The dense light spots that filled his vision just now were now purple. And he didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the light spots were arranged in a circle around his position at the moment, and they were all over the sky. The origin energy essences that were circling around him brought up a wave of crashing sound. A few energy clusters turned into a sea of energy and circled around the green mottled cover. But more of them were circling around him slowly, watching him with various emotions. Damn it, this scene was like worshipping a corpse. He was familiar with it. Buzz! A buzzing sound once again came from the entire space and smashed towards him. Yun Nuashing saw that the purple starlight in this space all emitted an inch-long thin thread and landed on his body. In this situation, he felt that his body was going to be pierced into a sieve in the next second. Well, that scary scene didn't happen. What really happened was a scene that made him feel even more uneasy. After those energy beams landed on him, he felt an endless amount of energy rushing into his body in an instant. It was just ordinary energy that filled the void, but the taste was different from all the energy he knew. It had the taste of the great Yuan realm's creation: ginger, onion, garlic oil, salt, sauce, vinegar. You must have made a mistake. Are you sure this is the next step? No. There seems to be a problem. No. But the records left behind said this. Records are also wrong, right? Forget it. That's it. Yin Nuashing's spirit was unusually strong. He sensitively felt that some kind of thought that was destroying his psychological balance emerged. All the hair on his body stood straight as if he had been electrocuted. A drop of cold sweat seeped out from his forehead. Buzz. The reddish-black origin energy essence comforted his frightened soul once again. Then, it suddenly released 2 flashes of light outside his body, which made him confused. Receive the signal. Go. Yun Nuashing reacted abruptly and saw the large pile of origin energy essence rushing towards him with an earth-shattering aura. He let out an earth-shattering cry. No. Before his voice died away, more than 100 balls of origin energy essence with all the purple starlight plunged into his body. Moreover, they were closely divided into different areas. Yun Nuashing only saw a colorful flash in front of his eyes. Then, he couldn't feel anything. After a while, his eyes rolled back and his body became stiff. He didn't have time to see that when he fainted, the reddish-black energy that had first entered his body was emitting light everywhere on his body. As the reddish-black light became brighter, the purple starlight in the distance also became bigger at a speed visible to the naked eye. Finally, it drowned him and the entire area covered by the green cover. Chapter 1338. Yun Nuashing's consciousness wasn't actually asleep. Inside the green cover that was overflowing with starlight, he floated to the side and looked at his own consciousness that was constantly lit up in various colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and purple flashed back and forth like a rainbow. Every light was a kind of origin energy. He He didn't know what those spirits were doing in his consciousness. Oh, speaking of not sleeping, his consciousness should have been occupied. At this moment, he was floating more than 10 meters away and looking at himself from a third person's point of view. In fact, it was just his senses that floated out and didn't have a physical body. If he really had to describe it, he looked at himself. It might just be a gray-white gas or transparent breath. He couldn't tell which was which. Speaking of which, this was the first time he tried to separate his consciousness from his body and then let his senses be independent of his consciousness. The latter process was actually born passively and had nothing to do with his own consciousness at all. Yun Nuashing circled around in place and looked at his colorful body of consciousness with a strange look. He was worried and anxious. He didn't know what the origin energy was going to do with him, with his body of consciousness. When they all went in, he couldn't judge the various expressions and consciousness of those guys who had become spirits. He could only float outside and wait anxiously, and at the same time watch the changes in this space. When they all rushed into his consciousness, the space changed accordingly. The purple starlight seemed to be a kind of energy body. They kept transferring energy into the cover. When the energy was exhausted, the purple starlight and the dark space they were in would suddenly become thin. A piece of space suddenly collapsed and turned into a white crystal the size of a thumb. It streaked across the space from a distance and fell into the cover like a meteor. The empty space would emit some aura that originated from the void, as if it was the void outside. At this moment, this space was constantly merging into the cover piece by piece and was slowly being exposed to the void. However, the void wouldn't take advantage of this and enter. There seemed to be some kind of energy balance that stopped the void's footsteps. His senses were a little bored. Yun Nuashing observed from a place more than 10 meters away for a while. When he found that there didn't seem to be any accidents, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. His gaze looked at the void that was like a pancake and curiously floated outside. Although it was only a sense, it was his sense, and he wasn't afraid of the erosion of the void. It wasn't realistic for him to sit there and wait for those guys to torment his consciousness without doing anything. He could only walk to other places to divert his attention and observe this space. His senses floated away from the green cover into the void and began to spread in all directions. In all his senses, no matter which direction it came from, it told him that it was the void. He was in the void at this moment, and he could see some fog that was so thick that it could block his vision rolling and surging. It was a bit like a nebula that was brewing a new star. The surrounding space was constantly becoming more distorted and vibrating. A solidified void? It has been solidified into a mass by some kind of power. The breath of the void here, this breath. Yin Nuashing was shocked. It was a breath that was more ancient than the void of the Dark Age at this moment, and it had changed from a formless and colorless state to a black fog. There is also a high-energy reaction in the center of the fog, as if it was nurturing something. These two conditions put together made him immediately think of a lot of things. He didn't dare to jump to conclusions rashly. He quickly shook off the almost confirmed answer and looked at the void that existed in this space again. It's not an interference. It's not an abnormality. It is indeed the void of the origin, and it does have the same chaotic laws as the void. The laws there are already abandoned and can't be accepted by the void of this era. Just like the metabolism of life, the things that were expelled out of the body generally wouldn't return to the body. The foggy void here had been touched by someone, and the laws it contained were something that he had never felt before. The answer was very clear, but he couldn't figure out why there was a solidified void that originated from that era here, spreading the energy that belonged to the god of origin in the void, and then spreading it across the entire 8 elements realm with the effect of the great law of the void, and then affecting the primordial realm below layer by layer. Yin Nuashing murmured what we told him and couldn't help but frown. Oh, he was just a mass of sensory gas at this moment, and he only had the thought of frowning, but he couldn't do that action. Let's not talk about restarting the shelter of the great primordial realm, the origin energy. Can the void at this time withstand it? Even if it can, how can the energy spread in the void? He looked at the solidified void and muttered to himself. And this solidified void, it must have its uses. Is it used to carry the origin energy essences, allowing them to touch the laws of this world? Or what is it? Yin Nuoxing had the idea of tilting his head, and his line of sight also tilted slightly. After a while, he walked forward. He floated forward for a distance, and was about to touch the void to see if he could get more information. Suddenly, a mass of reddish-black light lit up in front of him, making him involuntarily stop. He fixed his eyes on it, and found that the mass of reddish-black origin energy essence was floating in front of him, circling around the space in front of him. Buzz! It circled around, and the light on its body flickered, as if it was trying to express something to him. And this time, Yin Nuoxing suddenly felt some thoughts that were born directly in his mind, as if they were thoughts that suddenly popped up in his mind, and even he was shocked. But he could still tell that these were not his subjective thoughts. "You said you need my body?" "Buzz, my consciousness alone can't do that, accomplish that. So what is it? In the end, what do you want my consciousness for?" Yin Nuoxing watched it circling in front of him faster and faster, and he felt a little dizzy and quickly stopped it. But as soon as this thought came to his mind, he found that he could not do such a difficult action and could only smile bitterly. "Don't shake it. I feel dizzy just looking at it." The mass of reddish-black origin energy essence was still spinning rapidly, and there were after-images of it drawing a clear reddish-black circle. He felt dizzy just looking at it, and quickly used his senses to knock it forward. "I told you not to spin," bang. The moment his senses collided with it, something appeared in his mind in an instant, as if some memories and images flashed before his eyes. He could only see clearly at that moment, and he could not help but be stunned. He saw a blurry, slender figure standing in the void. Other than that, he could not see anything else clearly, even though he already knew a little about her. In fact, his knowledge of her was limited to the information he got from certain sources. He had never tried to look at her back like this. Although it was just a flash, it was enough for him to remember, but it was still vague. "You're the energy she left behind." Yin Nuoxing touched his chest and found that he had no hands and sighed dejectedly. Then he became a little spirited. "Mine too. Is this why you came to me?" The reddish-black origin energy nodded and finally stopped spinning. It began to slowly circle around him. After a while, it seemed to have suddenly thought of something and hurriedly turned to his back. It used its head to push him forward. From the outside, it looked like a transparent ball was being pushed forward by a reddish-black ball. Yin Nuoxing's exclamation could be heard continuously. Don't push me away. I look like a ball, but it's actually just my senses, and it doesn't mean that you can push me around like a ball. Let's talk nicely. I'm so dizzy." When he found out that the origin energy essence and the energy in his body were almost of the same origin. Oh, they were of the same origin, and the energy in his body originated from the origin energy essence. When he found out, he could not help but feel a little strange, as if he suddenly found out that his own energy had become a spirit and was running out to torment him. He was pushed back to the place where he had just left by the reddish-black origin energy essence. When he entered the green cover, he saw a large pile of origin energy essence looking at him calmly. As he entered, he could feel that all the weak consciousnesses had landed on him, and the buzzing sound was continuous, and they immediately jumped up and down in front of Yin Nuoxing's eyes. Come back, come back. It's that strange fellow who only has consciousness." It stuck. "Only consciousness. Not enough. No, I need more. I need a physical body. Physical body, physical body. Hurry up and pull the body over. The consciousness is here, and the body must be here too. Hurry up and find it. Hurry up and activate it." It wasn't easy to find a suitable one. We have to tie it up even if we have to tie it up. The large group of origin energy essences buzzing sound was continuous, and they even began to move around Yin Nuoxing at high speed, like balls of lightning rolling around rapidly, flashing nonstop, and almost forming an energy storm. In short, Yin Nuoxing's senses were pushed back into the body of consciousness with a confused expression. When the pair of eyes opened, Yin Nuoxing's forehead was suddenly covered in sweat. Good heavens! What had become of his consciousness after not seeing it for a while? There were countless traces left behind by the origin energy, engraved all over his body, and not an inch of it was missing. What were they planning to do with him? Buzz buzz. The reddish-black origin energy essence kept bouncing on his head, trying to attract his attention. After a while, Yin Nuoxing recovered from his shock and said to himself blankly, "Anyway, we have to get the body over here first, right? Stop arguing, I'll go." That's why we should stop arguing. Yin Nuoxing screamed and covered his ears, trying to block out the buzzing sound. But the sound directly drilled into his consciousness, and he couldn't even refuse to listen. Moreover, he didn't know if it was because he also had the origin energy, but those origin energy essences didn't treat him as anything else. Perhaps they treated him as an origin energy essence that had taken form. They kept buzzing and moving closer, and he could vaguely see that the few origin energy essences that had carried him up earlier were now calmly rolling around on his body, occupying his head, shoulders, neck, arms, waist, and other places. "Hey, don't push me. Don't tickle me. I'll go." Yin Nuoxing felt that those guys seemed to be anxiously pushing him. He gritted his teeth, turned around stiffly, and then flew in the direction where he came from, maintaining a stiff posture. Except for a few dozen origin energy essences that were squeezing on his body, all the other origin energy essences were flying around him rapidly. The origin energy essence that he was more familiar with was flying in front of him, as if it was leading the way. He didn't know what he looked like now, but it should be very strange. When he brought a large group of origin energy essences like migratory birds from afar, and when he came in front of the little angel and Hui, even with their experience and calmness, their jaws dropped. The little angel's wings were raised backward, and it looked like they were going to cramp. "Little star? You." It opened and closed its mouth in shock. After a few times, it bit its tongue to hold back its laughter and walked forward stiffly. "You? Where did you bring back a bunch of light bulbs?" Hui was also shocked. With his guardian's eyesight, it would be strange if he couldn't recognize the things hanging on Yin Nuoxing's body. "I was wondering why all the origin energy essences were quiet. Did you take them away alone?" "You may not believe it if I tell you." Yin Nuoxing tidied his clothes, and a golden ball of origin energy essences was rolled into his clothes and pushed against his stomach. It looked like he was 6 months pregnant. "Actually, they took me away." The little angel and Hui were stunned. "Huh, it's a long story. I'm also confused now, but I feel like something is going to happen." Yin Nuoxing's face was full of sweat. "Anyway, Hui, you don't have to sit there like a monk. The seal can be removed. You guys leave here first. Well, believe me, it's okay. Go out and wait for me." Ugh. While they were talking, a group of origin energy that had turned into spirits had already scattered like a swarm of bees. Even so, they still left a dozen balls of energy wrapped around him. Then, those scattered energy essences all rushed towards Yin Nuoxing's body, who was still standing there in a daze, and rushed forward to lift that body up. Yin Nuoxing stared blankly as his body floated in front of his eyes. Then, he was lifted up into the sky uncontrollably, leaving behind a long cry of surprise. "Anyway, this is what happened. You guys go out first. It will be over soon. Probably. But I don't know what will happen." The little angel and Hui were stunned and looked at each other. They did not know whether to listen to him and leave this world of abstract rules, or they did not know what to do. Yin Nuoxing felt that his worldview had completely collapsed today. First, he saw the origin energy essences. Then, he found that the consciousness separated from his body could divide his senses. Then he saw his consciousness being engraved by a group of inhuman beings using their hands and feet. At this moment, they were busy engraving the exact same engraving on his body. In just a few minutes, they were done and stuffed his consciousness back into his body. As the observer of the realm of the gods, a heavenly god at the peak of the origin, he was powerless in front of a group of origin energy essences. It cannot be helped. Those were origin energy essences. Any one of them would be enough to make him suffer. Not to mention, there were almost 200 of them here. It only took a quarter of an hour to retrieve the body and engrave the mark. Yin Nuashing was once again brought into the green cover by a bunch of balls that had turned into spirits. The red and black balls that had turned into spirits circled him twice, and then went into his chest and dispersed. This time, they dispersed into his body. Logically speaking, he should have resisted. Oh, he forgot that he had surrendered an hour ago. These things that had turned into spirits could not be resisted at all. Moreover, looking at their active state, it seemed that they wanted him to do something. He was not sure. The red and black energy essence that was very compatible with him did not tell him more details. Originally, Yin Nuashing thought that he would lose consciousness again in a daze this time. He was ready and was even about to lie down. However, this time, the energy that had turned into spirits was supporting the entire green cover. With the purple light that filled the starry sky, it continued to float upwards. Looking at the momentum of this speed, it might only take a minute to rush into the frozen void. Unsurprisingly, they entered the void this time. Logically speaking, they had entered the frozen void that had already passed away. The purple starry sky suddenly dimmed, and the origin energy essences that filled Yin Nuashing's body gradually quieted down. However, there was still a large amount of energy left in the green cover in his body. The origin energy essences were extremely excited and active at this moment. They flew around Yin Nuashing up, down, left, and right. The flashing light turned into a sea of light that made Yin Nuashing dizzy. Activate! Activate! Full of energy. This time, there's a carrier and a core. This time, it will definitely work. Be fully prepared. Hurry up. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Didn't you say that you still need to confirm a timing? What is the timing? Can it be eaten? What is the timing? It is probably some kind of energy. I don't care. I don't care. A strange fellow has entered. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Opportunity, 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 present. Go, go. Yin Nuashing saw all of them suddenly stop in an instant. Endless thoughts and energy all froze on his body in an instant, causing his body to stiffen abruptly. After a moment, he felt that he had been frozen. He lost control of his body. The reddish-black energy flowed in his body, and he felt that the energy was controlling his body. He saw himself raise his head bit by bit. He slowly raised his right hand and aimed upwards. The origin energy essences drilled into his body one after another. A wild energy that shocked even him spread out from his palm. Fire! Stabilize! Don't rush. Control it well. Please slow down. Be careful not to attack too quickly. This strange body is starting to crack. Crack! I will mend it. All the best. Unite as one. Unity as an impregnable fortress. Heya! After a few minutes of delay, a huge energy beam formed by dozens of colorful energies suddenly burst out from Yin Nuashing's palm. In a flash, it penetrated the green cover and swept into the frozen void. After 2 seconds of calm, the latter reacted violently like boiling magma. It was also like a star that was about to explode. It trembled violently and kept expanding. In just 10 seconds, its volume had increased by tens of thousands of times. Then, a muffled sound of thunder suddenly came from the expanding cloud. An energy beam that was the same color as the one before, but dozens of times smaller, burst out from the boiling cloud. It split into millions of light beams and spread to the end of this dark space in an instant, then disappeared from this space. In the real world, no matter which world it was, this scene could be seen. Suddenly, a crack appeared in a corner of the world's light cluster. A colorful meteor traversed the starry sky and disappeared in less than 2 seconds. In a corner of the upper plane of the void, a huge crack suddenly bloomed. A dense, colorful meteor shower fell from it and swept across the void in all directions, dragging a colorful energy trail that was tens of millions of miles long before it slowly disappeared. This scene was rarely seen by people. Those who noticed it just treated it as a strange energy phenomenon. After all, the void was already so chaotic that it was not surprising that anything could happen. At the place where the colorful meteor disappeared, a flash of colorful energy suddenly burst out and rushed to all parts of the world in infinite speed, but it did not attract the attention of any living beings at all. The same scene did not only happen in the 8 elemental realms. In the 7 elemental realms and other lower elemental realms, purple cracks bloomed in the sky and the void. Countless colorful meteors streaked across the sky. Those who noticed it treated it as a miraculous phenomenon that was rarely seen in countless years. They thought that it was an auspicious sign from the heavens. Yin Nuoxing's senses could spread out from the colorful meteors that he had shot out, and he could also know where they were rushing to. Mysterious energy evenly appeared in every elemental realm of the great elemental realm and rapidly spread. Light spots exploded in the void and in the real world, like a stone falling into a lake and splashing ripples, spreading out without dissipating. However, he could only laugh bitterly. He did not feel much joy. He already understood that this was the movement of the first-generation great deity's protection being reactivated. It was completed by a group of origin energy essences and himself, but his body was already crippled. Chapter 1339. Billions of colorful meteors streaked across any space in the Great Yuan realm. They burned in a high-profile manner and left in a low-key manner, attracting the attention of countless lives. However, not all lives could recognize the color of the origin energy. Perhaps the many lives who witnessed the reactivation of the Great Yuan realm's protection could only see a flaming red comet flashing past. They knew nothing about what happened next. What happened after that happened simultaneously in the entire Great Yuan realm. It lasted for more than a day before it was completely completed. When the first generation of the great deity's protection reappeared in the world, the lives in the upper realm and the lower realm were the first to sense it. They could clearly feel that their bodies were being suppressed by a kind of gentle but unquestionable power. It was a very strange method of suppression for the lives of this era, because they could not find out what was suppressing them. Their own power was silently locked and sealed under their own gaze, and there was no possibility of breaking through the suppression. The origin deity's protection has reappeared. Hui was the first to react. He was probably one of the few people in the entire Great Yuan realm who could directly sense the existence of this protection. Even the little angel beside him did not feel anything. However, she saw the meteor disappear into the horizon with a colorful energy flame that was thousands of miles long. Where's Little Star? Compared to the so-called protection, it was more concerned about the guy who had disappeared for a day. After hesitating for a minute yesterday, they chose to believe him and slipped out of the world of laws at the bottom level. At the moment, they were waiting in a hidden mountain. Little Star? Oh, you mean Feng. Why does he have such a strange nickname? We scratched his head. The last sentence was just a casual whisper. He did not intend to seriously explore it. He looked at the sky and pondered for a moment. He'll probably be back in a while. I can feel that the protection has covered almost all places. Maybe he'll be back after it's completed. At the latest, 2 or 3 days at the earliest. I might see him later. In the world of laws, at the bottom level of the realm of the gods, a green cover fell to the ground from the solidified void and gradually became transparent. A figure could be seen hanging in the middle of the cover. Many energy threads extended from the green cover and the surrounding space and hung him in midair. It was Yin Nuoxing. At the moment, he looked like he was drowning in water. His hands were hanging down, and there was no breath and no vitality. Judging from the surface, he was already a corpse in the deepest part of the dead body. A cluster of light containing powerful soul energy had turned into a cocoon. In the cocoon, a curled figure could be seen. Yin Nuoxing opened his eyes and felt the current situation. He could not help but let out a long sigh. Based on the current situation, well, he was already dead. At the very least, his body had collapsed. His soul was still hanging here, trying to repair the body that was constantly falling apart. If there were no accidents and no miracles, he would probably be left as a half-dead soul. At the moment, his soul was still intact. Staying in this dead body that belonged to him would gradually affect his soul. Considering that it would take half a year to reconstruct his body, he decided to struggle for a while and see if he could still be saved. But it seemed that there was no hope now. A body that had been attacked by the origin energy in all aspects. There was basically no possibility of saving it. He was just so stubborn that he did not want to give up on this body. It was not that easy to reform the body of an energy life form after being broken apart. He did not want to be left as a soul or a cluster of energy light floating around in the next half a year. He seemed to have a physical body now. That's right. Feng Ling's body was an ordinary physical body. It was easier to repair a physical body. Even so, he still wanted to struggle. While his soul was curled up in a corner of his body to protect his soul from being affected and try to repair his body, a large group of energy clusters that had turned into spirits were also moving rapidly in the space of the green cocoon. It's done. Mission accomplished. We can have some peace for a while. There shouldn't be anything to disturb us, right? Peace, seh. That strange thing seems to be broken. Broken? Is it a one-off item? I don't know. I don't care. Let's go back. The energy clusters that had turned into spirits flew a few rounds in the gradually dissipating green cocoon. Just as they were about to plunge into the ground, a red and black energy light suddenly appeared on Yun Nuoxing's body. Then, he rushed in front of the energy clusters and let out a sharp, buzzing sound. Wah! Stop now. Calm down a little. Io, if you keep shaking the space, we're going to faint. Up north, down south, up north, down south. I'm not fainting. I can still hold on for a while. I can't hold on anymore. You're going to die. Stop it now. What, you want us to help that one time? Oh, it's not a one-time thing, right? That carrier isn't a one-time thing? Oh, that carrier is actually a human? What's a human? Can it be eaten? It seems to be some kind of life form. I'm not sure. I don't know. Anyway, let's go and repair it. After all, that strange thing helped us. Oh, the group of energy clusters that had just rushed to the edge of the green cocoon and were about to leave slipped back like a swarm of bees. In a few blinks of an eye, they all rushed into Yun Nuoxing's body that was dissipating into energy clusters. Even their positions were tacitly separated like before. The reddish-black energy cluster that floated out spun a few times on the spot, then went back into Yun Nuoxing's chest and settled down. It slowly released a weak reddish-black light that covered his body. Yun Nuoxing was about to cut off all means of retreat, but just as he was about to move, he felt a strange aura. It was as if the aura of thousands of soldiers and horses had rushed into his body, creating a buzzing sound wave that attacked him head-on. It shook his weak soul so much that he almost fainted, and it instantly took over control of his body. Why are these guys back again? Yun Nuoxing finally spat out a mouthful of old blood that contained a huge amount of soul energy. Looking at the overjoyed and lively origin energy clusters that jumped up and down wantonly in his dying body as if it was an amusement park, Yun Nuoxing's mind was immediately damaged. The huge pressure and fatigue suddenly broke his taut nerves, and he spat out another mouthful of old blood. Then he swayed and fainted. His soul had fainted and lost all its protection. Seeing that his body was about to collapse, the reddish-black energy cluster appeared out of thin air, caught his soul, and carefully protected it. When his consciousness and senses woke up again, he was in a reddish-black scene. The familiar sky let Yun Nuoxing know that the ending of this life was really funny. If he left a sentence in his soul, played to death by energy clusters that have become spirits, he would probably laugh himself to death again. What a terrible way to leave. Yun Nuoxing let out a long sigh. Played to death by origin energy clusters, he was the only one in the great Yuan realm. However, according to his memories, he had participated in the battle at the end of the Age of Darkness. In other words, he could still hurry back and cultivate for 3 or 4 eras to return to reciprocity. At that time, he could only discuss what to do next. This was the only way. Although he had reactivated the protection of the great god of origin, it had taken him 3 or 4 eras. He did not know whether it was worth it or not. Speaking of which, this place is a little too quiet. After a while, he felt that something was wrong. Millions of creatures crossing the Yellow Spring would cause quite a commotion. According to his memories on the Yellow Spring Road, this place should be noisy and annoying. Every time he crossed it, he felt that the big guys were too noisy and the small guys were too noisy. It was not like this. It was so quiet. Yinhuasheng took a deep breath and sat up abruptly. He was stunned for a moment. There was nothing around him. He did not see the familiar road, the familiar river, or the black hole at the end that symbolized the end. He sat in the air and could not see anything. Am I not dead yet? He scratched his head. This should not be the Yellow Spring. Although there was the same dark reddish-black sky, there were none of the most unique sceneries. In other words, he was still alive. He just did not know where this reddish-black scene was. This is the center of the energy source, the place with the highest concentration of energy. It was an ethereal voice. He could not tell whether it was a man or a woman, but it had its own echoes. It suddenly appeared from this reddish-black space. It was as if the entire sky was talking to him, and the voice was pressing down from above. Wow! Yinhuasheng was so scared that he cried out in alarm. He crawled up from the ground with his hands and feet and looked up at the empty sky. You scared me to death. Who are you? Why did you call me here? Can you hear me clearly in this space? The voice pressed down from above again. It was very clear, and it had a clear echo. However, he still could not tell whether it was a man or a woman. I can hear you clearly, so you? Yinhuasheng responded subconsciously. His brain, which had been sluggish for a long time, finally began to work. He picked out a few words and pieced them together. After a moment, he was stunned and scratched his head. This space. Can you hear me clearly? Did you talk to me? Are you that mass of energy that has become a spirit? The reddish-black mass? It seems that there's a little cognitive deviation between us. However, according to the way you understand it, there is nothing wrong. The voice paused for a moment. He could hear that it was a little distressed. It was as if he could tell from the frequency of their flickering and the brightness of their colors that they were excited. They seemed to be so happy and active all the time. All right. Yinhuasheng shrugged and sat on the ground again. He pouted a little unhappily. Then why did you call me here? I am a little unhappy now, and I can't be comforted. So let's cut the crap. Why did you call me here? He had just been semi-forced to die once. How could he be happy after half a time? Moreover, he was facing one of the main culprits. I am very sorry about what happened just now. We are now repairing your body. We pulled your soul in to prevent them from accidentally touching you. It won't take long before you can go out. Please wait patiently for a while. Yinhuasheng originally thought that it would talk about some trivial things, but he didn't expect that it would actually apologize to him in a serious manner. This was something he didn't expect, and he was stunned on the spot, not knowing what to say. Ugh, I don't care too much. I'm just a little resentful because I was not mentally prepared for it. Cough. Let's not talk about this. Why are you staying in this world? The voice spoke slowly. The masters left us here before they left. They left behind a long-lasting seal. They also left us a mission. After the seal is lifted, we have to carry it out. Other than that, there is nothing else. Mission? Restart. That protection is your mission. A voice of denial came from the reddish-black space. Then there was a slight change in emotion. It was a little confused. We don't know how this will affect your world, the outside world. We only know that we need to do that. We don't know why, and we don't need to know. We just need to carry it out. Well, it seems that you have completed your mission. But why is it completed when I am here? Is this a coincidence? Or is there a necessary reason? For a long time, we have been trying to carry out that order. However, we failed many times. We felt that something was missing, but we did not know what the decisive factor was. We gathered together to think, but we gradually forgot what we were supposed to do. Until you came, until you followed us there. Only then did we know what was missing. Pure energy life forms generally refers to life forms that are similar to the origin energy of spirits. Their life forms were all pure energy. Their thinking was very strange. Their worldview was also very different from other races and life forms. It was as if they lived in a different world. Moreover, it was extremely easy for them to forget things. This was their nature. Howard had seen them a few times, and they were all like this. Well, if something is missing, Yin Nuashing pointed at himself helplessly. Then what role do I play? What do I do? You are a carrier that carries energy. During this period of time, you carried all of our energy and the energy in that space. If you did not do that, you would not be able to do that thing. The voice said honestly, it is just that we did not expect that you would not be able to withstand it. That's right. That is the origin energy. I don't think anyone in this world could withstand it. I even endured it for a day. Yin Nuashing smiled bitterly in his heart and muttered to himself. After enduring it for a day, he still died in the end. Speaking of which, if his body was crippled, he would only be considered half dead. Then, wouldn't that be? No, it was nothing to be proud of. If he could, he really did not want to experience it again. If he was weaker, he might not even have his soul left. All right. Yin Nuashing suddenly regained his senses. When I borrowed your energy last time, the energy that remained in my body was yours. Yes, because I felt a familiar presence. The voice explained simply. Then, I realized that I was looking for the wrong person. Not exactly. I did feel Master's presence, but it was slightly different from what I expected. Yin Nuashing nodded. After all, the only thing that was related to her in his body was the origin imprint. There was nothing else. I felt Master's blood flowing in your body. That is true. However, it is only an imprint after all. No matter how much it flows, it is only in that place. Yin Nuashing nodded and pointed at the origin imprint that appeared on his right hand. Buzz. Some movement came from the red-black space. Yin Nuashing felt the place where he was sitting tremble. When the voice spoke, it caused the entire space to tremble slightly. No, it is not this part. It is the part that flowed through your entire body, a tiny bit. At the same time, it caused Yin Nuashing to tremble from the depths of his soul to the outside. His face was filled with shock. Before he could say F***, the voice spoke again. Your body has been repaired. You can go back now. Goodbye. Yin Nuashing reacted abruptly and hurriedly opened his mouth to speak. However, he saw the red-black space in front of him suddenly collapse in his sight. His soul was being guided somewhere, and this strange communication ended. When his soul returned to a familiar place, his consciousness slowly woke up from a deep sleep. He opened his eyes and saw a dark red sky in front of him. There seemed to be a cloud floating in mid-air. This was the strange bottom layer of the world where the laws had materialized. The green cover and the origin energy that had become a spirit had all disappeared. He was lying on the flat ground. It was as if he had fallen and fainted while walking. Everything seemed like a dream. Well, it was not a dream that he had come to this world in the first place. He was very concerned about what the origin energy that belonged to the heavenly destruction god had said. A part of her divine blood, a very small part, remained in his body, and it was still flowing with him even now. To be honest, he and the heavenly god of origin were 100% absolutely inseparable in terms of blood. That could only be due to the divine blood in that environment. Well, not only did it leave a mark on his body, it also left 1 or 2 drops of blood in his body. Damn it. He was only alive because he was too lucky, wasn't he? He did not immediately jump up. He simply lay on the ground and carefully examined his body. He did find a faint movement that was different from his own body. It was as difficult as finding a drop of water in the sea. However, it was easier to find a piece of colored ice. After all, the sea he was in was not very big, so it was easy to find it. There really is. Yin Nuashing touched the ball of blood that was 2 times smaller than the tip of his little thumb. He found that it immediately turned from gold to gold and red. He was immediately stunned. At this moment, it had completely merged with the blood in his body. If he had not searched for it inch by inch, it would have been difficult to find it here. Moreover, his own blood did not seem to reject it. The origin mark has a weak connection with this ball of blood. Yin Nuashing scratched his head in distress. He did not know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing to have this ball of blood in his body. He tried to get out, but of course he could not get out. It had been here for 60 or 70 years and had subtly become a part of his body. A normal body would naturally not actively reject this thing. Moreover, he could not get it out by hand. He had a feeling that even if he drained all the blood in his body, he would not be able to get rid of this small ball of divine blood. After sitting cross-legged for 5 minutes and thinking, Yin Nuashing patted his butt and jumped up. He was very happy to ignore it. Since it had been left there for so long and nothing had happened, it would not be a big problem to continue to leave it there. The point was that he did not want to think about this kind of thing that gave him a splitting headache for the time being. After all, he was alive because of good luck. If it were anyone else, who would dare to put this blood that was completely different from his own blood in their body? Chapter 1340. She accidentally reactivated the heavenly god of Origin's protection, lost her life for no reason, and then came back to life, saying that the things that happened in one day was a bit of an understatement. It was too fantastical, and it felt a little like a fantasy story. In short, she had successfully accomplished what she wanted to do in the beginning. No matter what, it was a good thing. It was just that the price she had to pay was very frightening. She had casually died once, and casually came back to life again. Oh, right, there was another thing that she did not know if it was good news or bad news. Let's talk about it later. I can't tell what kind of news this is. Pinching her arm that still felt a little numb, Yin Nuashing looked at the world and sighed. She controlled the energy in her body and gradually separated herself from this place. Not long after, she left this place. When Yin Nuashing came to the hidden mountain, Hui, the little angel, and see you had been waiting here for a while. When Yuan Kong saw Yin Nuashing coming back, it reluctantly went up and hid behind the little angel with no intention of going over. The little angel directly flew over. Just when Yin Nuashing thought that it was going to push her out again, she slowly and carefully landed a few inches in front of him. The golden Mei Mao was full of doubts that could not be concealed. Your aura has changed. Looking up and down at Yin Nuashing, the little angel wrinkled her nose. Her soft voice was accompanied by a faint murmur. She reached out her hand and gently touched his chest. It has become very strange, mixed with a lot of things. Did something strange happen to you again? It is indeed strange. Yin Nuashing nodded and smiled bitterly. She looked around and smiled at Siyu to tell her not to worry. Then, she pulled the little angel and threw a glance at Hui before walking into the strange house. She even set up a barrier. As for the good news, I guess you have already felt it. The protection has been reactivated. It took a day to reactivate it. Yin Nuashing pointed at the sky. Yes, I felt it. For hours before you came back, I felt that layer of, I don't know what kind of protection it is covering the entire void. Hui nodded and hurriedly looked at Yin Nuashing. Compared to that, Yin Nuashing waved her hand to stop him from talking. The protection of the heavenly god of origin is rooted in the entire Yuan realm. It was only successfully activated with the power of the heavenly god of origin and the rules of that era and some other powers. I don't have much to say about the details. I have some bad news. I just died once. The little angel was shocked for a moment and immediately rushed forward. However, she was stopped by Yin Nuashing with a bitter smile. She threw a glance at Hui to calm him down. I did die once just now. My soul is fine. It's just that my current state is weak again. Although it was not easy for me to come back to life, it's just that I came back to life. My various states are unprecedentedly bad. I don't think I can recover for the time being. Ah, that's right. I can feel it. Hui nodded. They were both of the two priesthoods, so it was easy to sense their states. It's like a broken stone that wants to be put back together with clay. However, you can only get the state of a broken stone. Feng, don't tell me you want to stay in this state forever. Yun Nuashing smiled bitterly. This is the third news I want to tell you. It's a news that I don't know what it is. He hesitated and shook his head with a bitter smile. He turned around and unbuttoned half of his robe. Then, he pulled his long black hair that reached his thighs to the front of his body, revealing a sparkling and white back that could reflect the sunlight. The little angel blushed. It was not that she had not seen it before, but she blushed out of reflex. Then, she was stunned by something that shocked her even more. Even Huey's eyes almost fell out of their sockets. Half of the back that slid out from the robe was not only engraved with the golden and red marks, but also a large area of energy marks of various types and colors. They connected together and occupied the entire back and neck. Each color seemed to be entrenched in their own territory and did not touch each other. It looked like a strange work of failed tattoos. However, if one looked at the whole thing, one could see the harmony and delicacy of the whole thing. There was some kind of evil beauty to it. I told you last time. The golden and red marks are the origin marks that I got last time. They came from the heavenly god of destruction. As for the others, they seem to come from other origin energies. Yin Nuashing smiled bitterly. Her face was full of confusion and helplessness. This. Hui was dumbfounded. How did you get them? What happened in this lower world? To put it simply, I was sacrificed by a group of origin energies that had turned into spirits. Yin Nuashing let out a long sigh. The little angel and Hui were both stunned. Huh? Just tell me in detail. Yin Nuashing told Hui about what had happened there, including what had just happened and the details of how the heavenly god of Origin's protection had been reactivated. Of course, she did not let go of those origin energies that had turned into spirits. Huey's eyes were solemn and serious. He did not want to let go of any details, so he became serious. After a while, he felt a little dizzy, and by now, he was already on the verge of collapse. What did you just say? Yin Nuashing, I get it. Don't be so agitated. When he saw Yin Nuashing rolling up her sleeves, Huey's eyes were stung by his own cold sweat. He quickly became serious and shook his bangs. Feng, you need to calm down now. Although I don't usually like to use my brain, I understand what you just said. In short, you were trained by the origin energies that had turned into spirits, right? Yin Nuashing looked at him expressionlessly and stretched out her hand. The little angel understood and took out a brick made by divine power from the corner of the room and put it in his hand. Ahem, I'll stop joking. Huey's strong desire to live stopped him from saying anything that would cause him to die. He said seriously, it was indeed a matter of life and death. Your entire body was taken over by the origin energies. To be honest, it was fortunate that your observer's body could be saved. Feng, don't look at me so closely. I'm really not talking nonsense. Yin Nuashing pursed her lips and threw the brick back to its original position. She lowered her head and tidied her clothes. Her eyelids drooped slightly. Anyway, that's it. There are 3 big things. If we don't deal with the third one, everything will be in vain. Now, there's an excess of origin energies that are tens of thousands of times overloaded in my body. It's just tens of thousands of times. It's easy to deal with. I have a way. Hui raised his right hand and patted his strong biceps. He grinned and showed a very bright smile. He looked reliable, but Yin Nuashing stared at him and he shrank his neck. Tens of thousands of times. It's just one energy. Yin Nuashing glanced at him and continued to tidy her clothes. The amount of each kind of origin energy accumulated in my body is tens of thousands of times more than my own capacity. And I have close to 200 kinds of origin energies in my body. Those guys who have turned into spirits don't seem to be very reliable. They saved my body, but forgot to deal with this part. I can't find them now, and I don't know where to cry. If we don't deal with those energies, the consequences would be worse than death, right? We could not help but tighten her grip on her white dress. Her pretty face was full of anxiety. Yes, how should I put it? Yin Nuashing ran her fingers through her long hair and blew at her bangs. Those energies are all suppressed in the mark of origin, but they can't be suppressed forever. Energy can't be blocked, and the origin energy is the most special of all the energies I know. It contains a certain aspect of the power of the heavenly gods of origin. In other words, it is the most special and powerful energy in this world that has been modified by them. As a primordial life form that walks the world and surpasses all concepts and rules, it is itself a kind of energy source. It can be said that they created this unique origin energy and left behind those energy sources that have turned into spirits. That means you have almost 200 kinds of origin energy sources in your body. We was shocked. It's just a part of them. They're the real energy sources that are still suppressed at the bottom of the realm of the gods. I don't know what the heavenly gods of origin intend to do with those energy sources. Yin Nuashin grinned. The little angel had been deep in thought and did not participate in the discussion. Now that she saw them pause for a few seconds, she immediately said, "How about devouring and refining all of them? You have also refined a kind of origin energy last time. You should be able to do it this time, right?" Yin Nuashing sighed and shook her head. That's the process of assimilation. It's like raising poisonous insects, piling a few powerful energies together. In the end, or perhaps the winner, it will devour the nutrients of the other energies. However, what happens to the origin energy is more holy and bright. It's like, symbiotic assimilation, survival of the fittest, putting a few energies together and taking the best of the others. If we really want to get rid of these 196 origin energies, that means we have to repeat the process of symbiotic assimilation 196 times. Let's not talk about what will come out in the end. Just this process alone is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. When two similar energies are put together, the assimilation process will cause the two energies to violently resist. These are all origin energies, so it's not that easy to carry out, but this is a way. It might work if we take this path when the road ahead is unclear. Hui rubbed his chin and pondered. Then, he raised his eyes slightly and looked at Yin Nuashing. The pioneer who explores the unknown. Feng, this might be a way for you to break through. It is indeed a way of thinking. However, I have to tell you that if they get tired of living and go on a rampage, you have to imagine a body that carries 196 types of energy, each of which is unknown and abnormally powerful. Moreover, the amount of each energy is equivalent to the maximum capacity of more than 60,000 specially made top heavenly gods of the origin. You say this energy suddenly explodes? Hui waved his hand and spread it out without any worry. At worst, we will be buried together with you. We will drag the realm of the gods, this world, and the primordial realm down with you. Then we will go on the path of reincarnation together and reincarnate earlier. Yin Nuashing was so shocked that the look in his eyes changed. You have never said such things before. Which demon is occupying the guardian's body? Come out. Hui waved his hand and slapped the face of the indecent observer. It's nothing. Some things can be thought through sooner or later. Protecting this world and whatnot, we will do our best. In the end, we will leave it to fate. Feng, you said before that you know the ending. Maybe I can see some of it too. Yin Nuashing's face darkened. Did you steal my memories? Even your words are so similar to mine. Aha! Hui laughed and waved his hand. That sentence was just the two of them teasing each other. Let's not talk about that for now. You have been very busy recently. Rest well first. It is time for the Guardian to fulfill the Guardian's mission. When Yin Nuashing heard this, he was also happy. If there was nothing important in the future, he would not need to appear. He was also happy to be able to rest for a period of time. All right, then you go and do your thing. I'll settle my own problems first. There were many things to do in the realm of the gods. It was mainly because of the chaos in the void after the timeline resonance. As the center of the chaos, the realm of the gods was naturally the center of the whirlpool of chaos. The Guardian and the Observer had to take turns. The main thing was that the timing of their deaths happened to be different. They had no choice but to take two shifts. In the current chaotic situation, there could not be a situation where both masters were absent. Although the two of them were lazy, They had an inexplicable tacit understanding. When one was lazy, the other would be diligent. For example, the observer and the guardian were taking shifts now. Now was the time for the guardian to take charge of the flag. The other one was sleeping day and night in the small hidden mountain. Studying the origin energy required full concentration. A deep sleep was the most suitable. However, sometimes the little angel could not figure out whether the guy was sleeping or studying the origin energy. With such curiosity, the little angel closed the door and set up a barrier. Then, it plunged into Yun Nuoshing's body. The two people were familiar with each other. The little angel also stood beside him. The spiritual world was a magnificent world. There were endless mountains and mountains, a vast sea that was as vast as the galaxy. There were also endless stars in the starry sky. All of these made the spiritual world, which was originally empty, colorful. It was a little strange. Yin Nuoshing was sitting cross-legged on top of a sharp iceberg. He was slowly absorbing the energy here, as if he was training in the past. A few minutes later, he felt a slightly different presence. Just as he slowed down the absorption speed, he heard a surprised cry. How did your spiritual world become like this? Well, he thought that the little angel could not stand the loneliness and sneaked in. He did not expect it to be earlier than he thought. Seeing her jogging all the way from the iceberg to him and finally sitting down, he explained, "Everything you see is the manifestation of the origin energy. Didn't you see that materialized world of laws the other day? I did a little work and it became like this. All of these are the origin energy." The little angel's eyes twitched as he looked at the vast and magnificent world. He almost fainted from holding his breath. "It's not over yet." Yin Nuoshing pointed upwards. "And the stars in the sky, they are all. Because I couldn't think of using them to manifest into anything, I just let them hang in the sky. This is a world that was built using only the origin energy and evolved to perfection." The little angel thought about it seriously and felt that it might be better if she fainted. She thought for a moment and carefully moved behind him. She hugged him with her jade-like hands and covered him with a pair of white wings. The divine energy quietly merged with him. "We'll be faster like this?" Yin Nuoshing heard the question and thought for a few seconds. Then, he directly began to absorb the energy. In this situation, it would be faster to act directly. "Well, it's twice as fast. It seems that the absorption speed will be faster with one more person, but why don't I feel the energy staying with you?" After all the origin energy flowed into the little angel's body, it went through some processing and was given to him without any reservation. He did not know if the little girl did it deliberately or not. The little angel shook her head. "I can't absorb the origin energy. I'm just attached to your spiritual world, so I can help to process it. After all," she raised her head and looked at the beautiful world in front of her. Her wings trembled a little. "After all, the amount seems to be quite large." "It is quite large." Yin Nuoshing sighed. "Looks like we won't be able to finish this without 10 million years. Moreover, this is just a pure numerical calculation. I still have a lot of uncontrollable situations that I haven't taken into account. As for the real time needed, I've calculated a little. It might be 2 or 3 eras. Can I use the energy normally?" Yin Nuoshing sighed. "It won't affect me if I just use my own energy. But the energy is stored in the mark of origin. It's equivalent to 1/10 of it being fused with my body. To use the energy while suppressing this part of the energy, well, it's not much different from cutting off one of my own arms. Anyway, there was nothing important at the moment. The only thing that could be considered important at the moment was to deal with the twisted race. However, the realm of the gods had just finished their work and needed to rest for a while to deal with the strange race. It was a race that could probably fight the warriors of the realm of the gods head on. They still had to be cautious and take the initiative to attack. It was much more dangerous to fight an away battle. Besides, they could not wait for them to come to the realm of the gods. Only a fool would do it again. The path of the primeval? Yin Nuoshing was silent. The hope in his heart was a little faint. After all, from the current situation, the only known path had been destroyed by his own hands. It was the kind of permanent damage that could not be repaired. Even if he condensed the divinity carrier again, it would be useless. It was not like cutting a wound on the body with a knife. It would leave a scar. Even if there was no scar left, then, oh, that was not what he meant. He meant that it was like stabbing a knife into the body, and the part that went into the body was broken and left there. Even if it healed, there would be something in the body that could never be taken out. It was not that he did not want to take it out. It was that there was no way to take it out. This was a mark that he had self-destructed the divinity carrier. It was a mark that he had left on himself. It was like a judgment, but it would not bring happy results. Although he wanted to find a way to break into that realm, he had no clue. Hui said that the origin energy might be an opportunity for him, but he always felt that it might be a disaster. If he wanted to enter that realm, it was not enough to just cultivate and accumulate enough energy. Since he had advanced to the divine level, the way to break into the realm had changed. From the lower level to the higher level, it was a change of concept and law. He needed to achieve some kind of self-transcendence change. This was also the reason why the concept and law of the gods were so strong. It was also the reason why they could finally override all the rules in the world. In the end, nothing could bind them anymore. Relax a little. It is because it is a very important realm that you have to relax a little. Don't be too impatient. An extremely soft and gentle voice sounded in his mind, bringing him back to reality. Without moving his head, he turned his gaze and saw that the little angel was close to his face. He was a little silent. Am I very impatient? So clear? Well, your thoughts are very messy. It nodded, not caring that it had heard his thoughts again. On the other hand, Yin Nuoxing did not care that it had heard his thoughts now. After all, the relationship between the two of them. What should I do? The little angel could not help but smile blankly. Does the great observer also have times when he is confused? After all, yes, he murmured and sighed. He could not say a complete sentence. The little angel pressed its jade hand on his chest and felt his heartbeat. Mei Mao blinked slightly. I don't know either. However, I think you just need to follow your heart. One day, the time will come. One day, you will be redeemed. You have never expected these things. Everything is up to you to pursue. Then, just follow your heart and pursue it. Oh, Yin Nuoxing thought very quickly and nodded. Suddenly, he said, let's go out and play. The little angel was stunned. Huh, so the atmosphere just now prompted such a sentence. Chapter 1341. The existence of this world, the troublesome things in this world, and the endless troubles in this void. He had long wanted to abandon these things. He wanted to transform into a carefree, salted fish and swim in various worlds in the void, not thinking about such complicated and troublesome things. This ideal and dream had been mentioned many times, and it had also wandered in his mind countless times. Unfortunately, his position did not allow him to do nothing. He could not help being busy and thinking, although he was so reluctant and lazy at first. In the end, the discomfort was washed away by time. Gradually, all these things became part of him. Unknowingly, he had been in this position for many years. But it's okay to be lazy occasionally. Anyway, we will take care of it. I'm not a staff member in front of the stage. I'm behind the scenes. With such a relaxed and slightly lazy expression, Yin Nuoxing, the little angel, and Siyu walked slowly in the sacred city of the divine prefecture, walking by the long river that ran through the sacred city. Is it okay to leave Yuan Kong at home? Siyu could not help but say, causing Yin Nuoxing to be stunned for a moment. This girl had probably almost forgotten where her home was, or was it that she did not treat that place as her home in the first place, and only felt a sense of security and belonging when she came to that hidden mountain peak? The little angel waved her hand indifferently. She has something to do. I'll just bring some small gifts back. Yin Nuoxing glanced at the little angel. Compared to her, the little girl who came later did not seem to be as perfect as she was. There were some flaws in her life form. From time to time, she would leak 1 or 2 wisps of the aura of the death fog of the abyss. It was a controllable aura that would not affect the space of the present world, but could be slowly repaired. As for the reason for this flaw, Yin Nuashing maliciously guessed that the girl might have been deformed because she had been cooped up in the void for too long, or she might have been traumatized by the turbulent footsteps of the void and those people in the underworld. When she was born, the little angel looked at the absent-minded Yin Nuashing and thought for a moment. Is there something on your mind? I see that you seem to be looking for something. Yin Nuashing came back to her senses and nodded. I'm looking for someone. One of them definitely exists. As for the other one, I don't know if he's out yet. The little angel pondered for 2 seconds, then decisively reached out and pinched his face. Yin Nuashing then continued. All right, I'll try again to see if I can find Foam. Phoenix, I've just made a little calculation. It seems to be in the sacred city in this era, so it's curiously walking around. Hearing this, it made an "oh" sound and poked his face gloomily. Yin Nuashing smelled the slight smell of jealousy on this girl's body and tactfully did not say anything. It could not help but mutter, what about the other one? The other one? I can't say for sure. I don't know what it is either. It's just a target that I'm looking for. However, I don't know what to look for and where to start looking. Yin Nuashing rubbed her bangs as she muttered something nervously. What is it? Just tell me its name. She pouted unhappily and swept Yin Nuashing's earlobe and neck with the tip of her wing. Yin Nuashing was so shocked that she almost jumped up. Siyu pulled Yin Nuashing's sleeve and pointed to a street stall. After he nodded, she ran over happily. Yin Nuashing glanced at her and said to the little angel, Little purple soul, I'm trying to find something related to her. Maybe I can uncover her origins. That little girl is also a powerful figure in the Dark Age. Her eyes trembled slightly. She whispered in her soul, How did you know? Little purple soul's aura has the smell of this era. A life that was born under the laws of heaven and earth, or the void, would have its life mark and aura with the laws of the void. Normal people wouldn't be able to sense the difference, but I'm an observer. It's easy for me to see if a life that belongs to the realm of the gods has any aura. Yin Nuashing held a string of beads and looked at it for a while. Then he carefully put it down. However, I'm not sure if the little girl was born in the Dark Age or was born in the ancient times, but she was tainted by something that didn't belong to that era. It's hard to say. I just happened to be in this era, so I decided to look for her. More specifically, you can look into my memory. I found it after I went back to the realm of the gods last time. It won't take long to look back. The little angel nodded. Without hesitation, she went into Yin Nuashing's memory and started a search. At this time, Siyu's face was flushed with excitement. She avoided the passers-by and came to Yin Nuashing's side. Without saying a word, she stuffed something into his hand. Yin Nuashing was still deep in thought when he suddenly felt something cold and round in his hand. He looked down and saw it. It was a string of beads that were as bright as the sea. Each bead had a small sea creature in it. When he touched it gently, he could feel the ocean in front of him. The sea breeze mixed with the sunlight shone on his body. There was a faint scent of autumn blossoms in it, and a faint fishy smell in it. Yin Nuashing looked at it and smiled at Siyu. Is this for me? Siyu stuck out her tongue and nodded slightly. I heard that it can suppress the uneasiness and irritation in one's heart. It has a very good calming effect. I don't know if it's useful. You've been frowning recently. I can't help you, so I can only, seeing her acting like a little girl, Yin Nuashing couldn't help but laugh. He patted her long hair and put the ocean-like beads on his left hand. He smiled sweetly. Thanks. It looks pretty good. Although he felt that it wasn't suitable for him to wear these things. After all, it was a gift from the little girl. He could not wear it. Yin Nuashing looked at Siyu, whose smile became brighter after seeing him put on the beads. He reached out and patted the little girl's head. Well, I always feel that you're a little irresponsible. You've been running around with me ever since you came here. Although that's one of the goals of my training, I don't seem to have taught you anything other than that. Siyu was stunned. That was the truth. However, she wanted to defend him. But you gave me a crystal ball full of things. At most, I'll just give you a knife and let you die on your own. Well, you don't have to say anything to excuse me. I know my own virtue. I'm not a very suitable person to teach people. I'm busy with strange things all day long. Right now, I'm also entangled by an even stranger thing. Yin Nuashing held the back of his head with his hands and said with a bitter smile. Siyu lowered her head. After a while, she raised her head again. Her beautiful black eyes were filled with joy and relief. But I felt that it was very easy to be there by your side. Even when I was cultivating, I felt that it was much easier than usual. Yin Nuashing could explain the last sentence. However, the first sentence relaxed. Yin Nuashing pointed at his puzzled and strange expression, running around with him to strange places, seeing strange things, and watching him destroy the world. How could it be relaxed? As if she knew what he was thinking, Siyu quickly waved her hand. Although I'll be scared when I see some scary things. The last time I saw the red planet with you, the scene hasn't faded away yet. Yin Nuashing grinned and patted her long hair. This action had become a habit. Well, let's not talk about my body for now. Now that Hui has woken up, it's rare for me to have some free time. Let's use this rare time to work on your precious, and rare 5 elements constitution. See, you look gloomy. Why do you have to add so many strange prefixes? If I don't deliberately add a few adjectives, I won't be motivated. See was speechless. She had forgotten that the noble Lord Observer was more or less lazy in his bones. See, you looked around and realized that the little angel had disappeared. She was slightly stunned. Where's Sister Ming? She's here. She's looking at my memories. Let's not worry about it for now. Let's walk around first. Yin Nuashing nodded his head. See was a little stunned. For the first time, she realized that the relationship between two people could be so intimate that they could look at each other's memories at will. Well, our relationship is a little complicated. I can't explain it clearly in a short time. It's probably the most complicated and strange relationship in my life. Sometimes I don't know how to deal with it, but most of the time I feel, actually it's quite good like this. See, you smiled. You two have a good relationship. Yin Nuashing smiled and didn't deny it. It was unclear, but their relationship was very good. This was the only thing that didn't require additional confirmation. Well, let's not talk about this. See, you walked up and held his arm. My Lord Observer, what are we doing here? Didn't you hear it just now? Yin Nuashing led her forward. He twirled his fingers and said again, in short, we're going to find a person, but we've never met before. I only know that she might be in this city. She should be hiding like an ordinary person. She might not have any special features. The holy city of China has more than 10 trillion permanent lives. Among them, the North District has more lives. Usually, the East District is more lively, regardless of day or night. My Lord Observer, this person is not easy to find. See, you smiled bitterly. Well, be patient, be patient. My deduction shouldn't be wrong. As for when we'll be able to find her, Yin Nuashing's eyes twitched. Let's leave it to fate. He also knew how many lives there were in the largest city in the realm of the gods. As for why he wanted to find Feng, the phoenix of this era was purely on a whim. It was to break free from the sea of pain of the origin energy and take a breather. Of course, the most important thing was that he always wanted to distort this dream of an established reality. Well, it was probably just wishful thinking. After all, he didn't know whether Feng, and he knew each other during the Dark Age. She had reincarnated many times in this world, and the bloodline and memory fragments that she had accumulated from one life to another did not have specific memories of each life. Their fate should have started from the ancient era. Feng also felt the same way. So, let's assume that they didn't know each other during the Dark Age. Then he would do something that deviated from the official history in this era. However, when Lord Observer went out for a patrol, unexpectedly, there was no movement at all. It's so quiet. See, you looked at the empty street after turning a corner and couldn't help but chuckle. Lord Hui attracts attention wherever he goes. When I was still in the academy, I could still hear news of Lord Hui occasionally descending on places, even though it was half a year ago. Yin Nuashing took a deep breath. However, this street was indeed a little too quiet. This seemed to be the edge of the eastern district of the holy city. Didn't the little girl say that this place was bustling day and night? It was so quiet that he couldn't help but release his divine soul. As a result, he found that hundreds and thousands of people were coming out of their houses in a single file about 100 miles away, running towards the center of the Eastern District. Now, a large amount of life aura had gathered in that area, almost condensing into a storm. There seemed to be people coming from other places as well, and some of them were quite strong. Oh, I know why it's so quiet. Yin Nuashing nodded and walked in that direction with Siyu. It seems like there's a show to watch. I don't know if that fellow will join in the fun. Anyway, let's go take a look. The little angel, nestled in his soul, looking at his memories, raised her head. You're actually going to join in the fun? I thought you were already dizzy when you came to this windswept place in the boundless secular world. Yin Nuashing. He felt that these two girls were intentionally trying to make him speechless today. They quickly crossed half of the Eastern District and arrived at the center. Before they even got close, they felt a wave of cheers, shouts, and roars rushing towards them. Yin Nuashing, who was rushing with Siyu, was caught off guard and crashed into them. At that moment, the unprecedented wave of sound poured into their minds like a void, and they instantly lost consciousness. Yin Nuashing's vision turned black and her brain spasmed. She instantly fell to the side in confusion. Fortunately, Siyu was used to this kind of situation and didn't faint from the sound wave. She hurriedly caught the seemingly unreliable Lord Observer. Are you all right? Yin Nuashing's eyes were like mosquito coils. Her mouth twitched as she wailed. That's why I said they're too noisy. After withstanding the impact of the sound wave for a moment, the sound wave that continued to spread out later on wasn't as powerful. However, it still made Yin Nuashing's ears itch. She grinned and rolled her eyes as she walked over. She kept picking her ears. From all aspects, the life forms in the void are too noisy. Humans are the bosses among them. In the entire Diyuan realm, I've never seen a life form that has more energy to create trouble than the human race. She half-supported Yin Nuashing to a place. When she saw the sea of people, the seemingly endless mountain of human heads, the sea of human heads, Yin Nuashing almost fainted again. As an executioner who could annihilate an entire world in an instant and annihilate trillions of lives, she actually fainted in front of this sea of people. If she told others, no one would believe her. Siyu found a palace that was relatively tall. There were very few people there. There were only 3 people there. It was very abrupt in this place that was piled up by the sea of people. Moreover, judging from the aura of the 3 people, they seemed to be very powerful. Anyway, she couldn't see their realms. The moment they landed, the 3 people glared at her. Her expression trembled. She took a deep breath and forcibly suppressed her trembling hands. Then, she supported Yin Nuashing with strength. Little girl, this isn't a place that just anyone can come up to. A middle-aged man crossed his arms and said coldly. As for the half-dead Yin Nuashing who was hanging on his shoulder, he directly ignored her. Siyu gritted her teeth. Just as she was about to say something, Yin Nuashing, who had caught her breath, straightened up. She cast a calm look at them and suddenly revealed a somewhat evil smile. The 3 people trembled violently. Their expressions trembled as they hurriedly retreated a few steps. They gathered at the corner of the roof of the palace and trembled. Their instincts told them that if they didn't retreat, they might vanish in thin air in the next second. Can you lend me a place to stand for a while? Yin Nuashing smiled kindly. The middle-aged man's expression stiffened. He exchanged glances with the other 2 people and laughed dryly as he cupped his hands. Your Excellency, you must be joking. There are so many seats here. It won't be a problem to stand anywhere. Ha! Ha! Yin Nuashing and Siyu both rolled their eyes. They didn't care about these things and walked straight to the edge of the roof of the palace to look down from above. Many people also raised their heads to look in their direction. This was a very eye-catching position. After all, there were only 3 people standing on the roof of such a huge palace. Needless to say, the significance of this position was obvious. Then, two people suddenly appeared, scaring the three people so much that they were speechless. However, this wasn't the most eye-catching thing. Everyone who came here was here for the scene in the center. This was just a small interlude that could be passed quickly. Ah, it's already over. Siyu looked at the high platform in the center and couldn't help but sigh. She had just arrived and rushed over to take a look at the high platform. Before she could figure out the situation, she saw a group of people collectively leaving. It seemed like it had already ended. No wonder she heard a wave of sound when she just arrived. If I was still in the academy, it seems like I would also come to participate in this in the end. Oh, you know about this event? Yin Nuashing tilted his head and looked at her. It's a large-scale event that all the academies in the realm of the gods will participate in, the sacred elephant ceremony. It is said that the final location is in the Divine Prefecture. In the Divine Prefecture. I don't know what the standard is, but it's different every time. You have to train in the Divine Prefecture for 3 months to achieve the goal, eliminate a considerable number of students, and finally compete in the Holy City. If you win, you will be baptized by the power of the 4 celestial gods. It happens once every 5 years, and it happens to be this year. If I was still in the academy, I would participate in it. Siyu's eyes glowed as she spoke. Yin Nuashing could see that she also wanted to participate in this ceremony, but unfortunately, she was abducted by him 1 or 2 years ago. He couldn't help but pat the little girl's head. The baptism by the power of the 4 celestial gods is a very precious experience. Well, if you are jealous, I will prepare a special baptism for you. Siyu came back to her senses and smiled as she stuck out her tongue. She just remembered that she was already following the observer in this so-called baptism by the 4 celestial gods. Her observer, might have something even more exciting than that. I found it. I was just here to see if it would join the fun, but I didn't expect that it would be the fun herself. Yin Nuashing stretched out his hand and pointed at the stage below. It was time to leave, but it seemed that there was still something to deal with or something else. There were still people on the stage, listening to the person standing at the front of the stage. He pointed at a thin figure and said, "Look at that girl. You should be able to see her clearly from the side. That one with pink eyes and the one in red clothes." Siyu craned her neck to look at the stage and followed the person's finger. After a while, she found the girl in the beautiful red clothes. She blinked and said softly, "What a strange feeling. It's like I'm looking at a ball of fire." Yin Nuashing smiled. While the two of them were looking at the 16 or 17-year-old girl from more than 2,000 meters away, the latter was listening to the people in front of the stage. Suddenly, she felt something and turned her head. She looked. She didn't know where to look. She could feel 2 pairs of eyes that were focused on her. One of them was a little strange. She could still feel it, but she couldn't find where it came from. She saw us and looked over. "Yeah, she can't find us?" Siyu exclaimed. She then stretched her body out of the roof of the palace and waved her hand. However, the girl still could not find them. She frowned and turned her head away, ignoring them. "Stop waving. She can't find us." Yin Nuashing smiled and patted her head. Siyu thought about it and felt that he was right. So she took a step back and stood quietly beside him. Chapter 1342. The current situation seemed to be saying something like, "The trial is over. Everyone, go back to your homes." Oh, or maybe, "Congratulations on passing the trial. It's a pity that some of you were not selected. We hope that you can continue to cultivate." In short, it was some kind of farewell speech. They just missed the holy elephant ceremony. The faint aura of the 4 gods lingered in the air. It seemed that the ceremony had already ended. Yin Nuashing and Siyu stared at the girl in the red dress openly. However, due to Yin Nuashing's strong rule, the latter could not find where they were. She could only endure the strange stares. Occasionally, her body would sway unnaturally, causing Siyu's pretty face to blossom with a smile. The little girl seemed to have awakened some strange interest. She could not stop staring at the girl. Yin Nuashing guessed that in the short 10 minutes, she might have looked at the girl's entire body dozens of times. She was just sure taking off her clothes. "Well, Your Excellency," There were footsteps behind her. Yin Nuashing turned her head. The three people who were standing on the roof of the palace were approaching carefully. Then they clasped their hands and looked a little hesitant. He wrinkled his nose and said, "What's the matter? Just say it." The middle-aged man raised his head slightly and pondered for a moment. "After the holy elephant ceremony, there will be a sermon. The three of us are supposed to do it. Your Excellency's cultivation is very high. If you are interested, why don't you?" He stretched out his hand and pointed at the edge of the roof in front of them. Yinuashin glanced at it and understood. She waved her hand and said, "I'm just here to join in the fun. I don't know anything. I didn't expect this to be an important venue. It's our fault for being rude. Well, I'll leave now." The middle-aged man felt a little regretful when he heard this. Originally, the last part of the holy elephant ceremony should have been carried out by their divine ancestors, who were still able to stay on the high platform to talk about cultivation. It could be considered the most important lesson for a beginner god. However, their divine ancestors were busy with important matters, so the three of them had to take over. However, it was only a little regretful. It was already very good that this guy of unknown origin, who seemed to be exuding an extremely dangerous aura, was willing to return the arena to them. At that moment, they didn't care whether he left or not. They watched this great god leave before wiping the sweat off their faces. Many people below the stage had already noticed the abnormality here, causing people in several areas to be stunned for a moment. However, they didn't pay too much attention to the two guys who left, but focused on the three people. The girl in the red dress also noticed this scene and frowned suspiciously. However, she didn't pay too much attention to it before withdrawing her gaze, mainly because Yun Nuashing and Yun Nuashing had walked far away and couldn't see them. However, I didn't expect the phoenix to be a god. It seems like she just underwent nirvana once not long ago. After walking for a distance, Yun Nuashing felt an earth-shattering movement behind her. Only then did she speak to the little angel in her soul. "Do you plan to turn back directly?" The little angel replied, while checking her memory with interest. Suddenly, she laughed evilly. "Little star, you actually said that sentence. When will you dare to say that sentence to them?" Yin Nuashing blushed and scratched her cheeks. "Ahem, don't change the topic. No, I want to say this. Hurry up and say it. Are you afraid to say it? Do you want me to practice with you?" Yin Nuashing's face turned even redder. If you want me to practice with you, isn't that directly doing that?" "TSK, your reaction is fast." The little angel couldn't help but grin and stick out her tongue. Yin Nuashing, "All right, it was an accident that he said that sentence last time. Next time, let fate decide. Maybe one day he would really say that sentence, but maybe not now. If it was now, he didn't have so much energy to spend on that aspect." The little angel also knew this, so she stopped teasing and didn't continue. "All right, back to the original topic. That little girl isn't the phone, you know. If you want to turn her back, she might not be willing." "Turn her back? That's too strange. I just noticed her out of curiosity. I noticed her on a whim. I haven't thought about what to do next." The little angel let out a soft laugh. "How about you bring her back first?" "So, you actually want to take her back, right?" Yin Nuashing was stunned for a moment. Then, she shouted in an extremely exaggerated tone, "What are your intentions?" The little angel raised her head and smiled gently. "Take a look and see what the phone that you've been dreaming of looks like. After all, what you see in your memory is different from what you see in reality." Yin Nuashing was stunned. Speaking of which, the phone in the Dark Age was different from the phone he knew at that time. Her appearance was different, and the phone was taller. Although they both looked young, the phone at that time was more mature and steady. On the other hand, the phone in front of him was a little inexperienced and extremely vigilant about everything. She was like a little princess of a big family who was released after being locked up in the family for 20 years. She was curious about everything, but because of her upbringing, she looked at the world with great vigilance. Except for you, that girl was not afraid of anything. Well, it's probably because of her experience. Let's not talk about that first. That girl, That girl's soul is exactly the same as Feng Er's. It's just that the amount of time and aura that settled down is much less. They are indeed the same person, Yin Nuoxing said, standing in the distance and waiting for the commotion to die down. Yin Nuoxing and the little angel still didn't discuss why he suddenly wanted to look for Feng Er in this era. In the end, they attributed it to what he said to Feng Er when he left the 139th era. They guessed that he hoped that they could accompany him in the Dark Age. So, however, the person he was looking for was not the same person after all. It was just wishful thinking. Yin Nuoxing firmly denied the answer that the little angel came up with. After 3 months of commotion, under the indifferent gaze of Yin Nuoxing and Siyu, who caught up with the curtain, and the cheers of the vast crowd gradually came to an end. The crowd slowly dispersed, and people from all over the Divine Land also slowly returned to their places. However, most of them originally lived in the sacred city of the Divine Land for a long time, so the commotion would continue for a while. It was a little regrettable that the two of them didn't catch the last scene. It was completely useless to listen to other people's screams about how wonderful and powerful they were. Oh, right, they had seen a lot of powerful people on a daily basis. Now, when they imagined those, especially a group of gods at the primary god level fighting there, how sensational could it be? Following Little Star, I've become strange. Siyu clapped her hands to cater to the audience and muttered. She was used to such scenes of powerful people. Yin Nuoxing laughed awkwardly, clapped her hands, laughed awkwardly, oh, right. During this time, Yin Nuoxing conveniently inquired about the name of Feng Er in this era, Feng Qingwan. She didn't come from any school. Like some of the contestants, she was a qualified participant. She only needed to find a school to participate in the competition under the name of that school. This kind of people also made up a small proportion of people in each Holy Elephant ceremony. Compared to the students of many schools, this kind of people was very small. However, there would always be some dark horses every time. For example, the owner of this name was the champion of this Holy Elephant ceremony and was remembered by countless people. When Yin Nuoxing heard this name, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Feng Qingwan, damn it. If the middle word was removed, it would be Phoenix. Damn it. Didn't these hundreds of millions of people think of this problem? Damn it. That girl was really not afraid that others would guess that she was Phoenix? All right. It seemed that no one knew. If he didn't know this beforehand, he might not be able to recognize her just by looking at her name. The existence of the 4 celestial gods of celestial phenomenon was still very mysterious. It wasn't like people in the future who hunted down the 4 celestial gods of celestial phenomenon. No one would think that Phoenix, one of the 4 celestial gods of celestial phenomenon, was here and was even competing with others the baptism of the 4 celestial gods. Yin Nuoxing murmured. Suddenly, she said, although it's at the mature stage, its strength hasn't completely recovered to its peak. I guess it's using this method to recover its strength faster. The human race might have more of the 4 celestial gods' power than the monster race. When it fell into the hands of the 2 races, it would be treated differently. If it fell into the hands of the human race, some people would worship it. More people would choose to use it. If it fell into the hands of the monster race, they would only worship it. Therefore, it was still possible to find clear traces of the 4 celestial gods in the monster race. When the crowd was almost gone, Yin Nuoxing brought Siyu to the top of the palace again. When she saw that the people on the stage were leaving, she caught the 3 people who were returning to the top of the palace after the preaching. The 3 people heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the great celestial god in front of them again. Hello, we meet again. Yin Nuoxing waved her hand. The 3 people smiled bitterly and hurried to greet her. Before they could say anything, Yin Nuoxing said, I want to see the little girl named Feng Qingwan. Can you call her over? The 3 people were stunned and looked at each other. Yin Nuoxing looked at them and continued, well, I have many ways to find her, but I can't think of a suitable way. After thinking about it, I think it's better to ask you to call her over to avoid a lot of misunderstandings. Looking at the girl's vigilant and cautious look, he couldn't think of a good way to get in touch with her. Just say it's a strange old friend. That's enough. Can you call her over? The three people smiled bitterly. They had already given the order, yet he still asked. If they couldn't call her over, would they not be able to leave? Sir, the baptism of the four celestial gods will be carried out in the temple. But now, they are all exhausted from the trials and battles. Can you give them some time to rest? The middle-aged man said carefully, How about I arrange for you to meet during the baptism? Yin Nuashing saw the man's cautious look and guessed that they must have thought of her as a dangerous person. She couldn't help but smile. There's no hurry. We have plenty of time. Let's talk about it after they have rested. I will also stay in the sacred city during this time. Hearing this, the three of them heaved a sigh of relief. This god of unknown origin was easier to deal with than they had imagined. If he really wanted to cause a ruckus to the point where they had to meet him immediately, they would really be in trouble. The trials lasted for 3 months, and there was a fierce battle at the end. Many participants who participated in the ceremony ran back to their temporary lodgings in the sacred city in exhaustion. They lay on their beds and couldn't move. But there was one person who was the most special. Yin Nuashing noticed that after she returned, she struggled to enter a state of cultivation. That Feng Qing Wang is working so hard. Looking at a residence in the Eastern District from tens of thousands of miles away, Yin Nuashing couldn't help but sigh when he saw Feng Qing Wang sitting cross-legged on the bed and entering a state of cultivation. He followed his gaze and saw that place. She also sighed. She had never seen someone of the same age as her who was working so hard. She thought that she was already working very hard and rushing for time. She didn't expect that there was someone who was even better than her. Little star, I wanted to ask you earlier. Who is this Feng Qing Wang? Why do you care so much about her? You tugged at his sleeve and couldn't help but ask. She pouted at an angle where he couldn't see. He only noticed her when someone pulled her over. Now that he suddenly noticed another person, a girl at that, she couldn't help but care more about her. Yin Nuashing was about to say something when he suddenly turned his head. He took in Siyu's expression and couldn't help but smile. He rubbed her head and said, Why? Do you care a lot? Yes, I care a lot. Siyu pouted and lowered her head as she mumbled. Yin Nuashing laughed and said, Stranger. Well, we don't know each other yet, but I want to get to know you. It's the same as when I heard about the 5-element constitution and went to see you. Siyu was stunned. She pointed at herself and said, Wasn't it Senior Gu Hong who pulled me to see you? That's right. Yin Nuashing nodded and said, But I noticed you before that. Your sister Ming found you and pulled me over. Of course, it was also because I was interested in you that I went to see you. You didn't notice me at that time. Siyu was stunned. She just remembered that she seemed to have noticed him during the competition. It was just that she didn't look at him seriously. Now that she thought about it, it seemed that she did see him. Well, I did see you. But at that time, Little Star seemed to be a hidden master behind the scenes. I can't believe that I actually know the observer. Siyu's sweet smile was bright and moving. Seeing this, Yin Nuashing also smiled and reached out to rub her head. The little girl thought for a moment and leaned over to hug his arm. The smile on her face turned into a silly grin. 2 days passed. On the 3rd day, after everyone had rested, they went to the temple. Yin Nuashing greeted the other 3 and went to the temple to wait. The 3 looked at each other, shrugged, and went to the entrance of the temple to wait for the contestants who were going to be baptized by the holy elephant. Seeing that the contestants were gathering, but Feng Qing Wang was nowhere to be seen, the 3 of them were sweating. Logically speaking, no one would choose to run away at this time. They knew that, but they felt scared when they couldn't see Feng Qing Wang for even a second. They were afraid that the little girl would give up the prize. If that happened, they wouldn't know where to cry. But the little girl was someone that the great god cared about, so they couldn't act recklessly. Oh, she's here, she's here. Phew, I almost lost my life. The middle-aged man suddenly said in a low voice. The other 2 turned to look at the entrance. One of them had just reached the entrance and was about to push the door open. She looked around and saw that other than the contestants from that day, the 3 great gods were also present. She was stunned. Coincidentally, everyone in the hall was looking at her. Feng Qingwang shrunk her neck and said, I'm not late, right? Haha, you're just in time. If you didn't come, we would have rushed you. The middle-aged man chuckled and nodded. He glanced around and said, Well, since everyone is here, follow me. I've already said all the nonsense 3 days ago. As soon as he finished speaking, the three of them turned around and walked into the depths of the temple. Feng Qingwang and the others hurried to follow them. They walked into the depths of the temple. The sunlight from the outside was gradually fading. However, the light inside the temple was getting brighter. It was as if the four walls were emitting invisible light. The degree of the divine elephant baptism depends on your harvest in the past 3 months and your ranking in the battle. I've already said that. The rest depends on your luck. The middle-aged man casually talked about the rules and led the group into the depths of the temple. They slowly went underground. The little guys behind him were all looking around curiously. Although they had been here before, they didn't have the chance to go deep into this place. Although they couldn't see the stairs or the downhill path, it gave them the feeling that they were going down. There were no guards along the way, which made them feel suspicious. This place can only be opened with a special power of law. If the divine ancestors came here, one of them would be enough. However, the three of us need to work together to open it. If the others barge in without guidance, they will end up outside. Therefore, there is no need to guard this place. Looking back at the little guys, the middle-aged man couldn't help but explain with a smile. The little guys nodded and whispered to each other. Only Feng Qingwang frowned. She didn't want to talk to the others. After walking for 15 minutes, the scene in front of them suddenly changed. Feng Qingwang and the others were shocked. The straight path in front of them disappeared and turned into a dark corridor. It looked like an ordinary stone corridor. They could clearly feel that there was something in the space and under the ground. It seemed that the energy from all directions was condensed in this place. We're here. We're here. The middle-aged man nodded and walked forward quickly. The others were suddenly energized. They hurriedly followed him into the stone corridor. There are many talismans and formations hidden in these places. All of them are used to maintain and restore the power of the four gods. You absolutely cannot touch them, otherwise. We won't die, but all of you will have to die here, the middle-aged man warned in a low voice. The others nodded and almost swore that they wouldn't do anything stupid. The power of the four gods is different in every stone room. The degree of baptism is also different. Here, from this room, the last one will sit according to the number. Feng Qingwang, your room is in the innermost part. You can go by yourself. We won't go. The middle-aged man pointed at the row of stone rooms and smiled at the others. The others quickly found their own rooms and sat according to the number. Feng Qingwang walked straight to the innermost part of the corridor. Seeing the door that was bigger than the others, she was stunned. She turned to look at the middle-aged man and the others. Seeing that they nodded at her, she felt relieved. She pushed the door open and walked in. She raised her head and saw a dark space. It seemed to be a stone room. It was a round stone room. It wasn't very big, but it was a little deep. Only a four-colored light attracted her attention. Boom! Feng Qingwang quietly closed the door. Her pink eyes looked at the four-colored light. She couldn't help but breathe faster. She was a little anxious. She jogged a few steps forward and then suddenly stopped. Who is it? In the dark space, she suddenly woke up. She clearly sensed that there was another life force here. And that person didn't seem to want to hide at all. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.